And we are live. Welcome to session 7 of our Storm and Sail game, the shores of La Fortuna. So in our last session, our brave buccaneers had reached the World's End Ocean following the mystical compass created by Daedalus. They sailed over a waterfall at the edge of the World's Edge Ocean, appropriately enough. And thanks to some superior seamanship and the back-breaking efforts of the crew, inspired by Pierre, they were able to survive the fall, as did their ex-foe slash ally slash, we're really not certain about him, Rot-eyed Jack, who is still following along with him in his ship. Although, thanks to a bit of, let's say, deception on behalf of Pierre, they'd managed to ditch the two driftwood twins, leaving them abandoned on a sandbank before they went over the waterfall. And now the shores of the island of La Fortuna lie in front of them, a large jungle-covered island which seems to glimmer in the beaming sunlight, the crystal clear blue tropical waters, very unlike the dull permanent twilight of the World's Edge Ocean, where the sun never seemed to rise or entirely set as you would expect it to in the normal world. But here near the island of La Fortuna, the sun shines down brightly, the waters are clear as crystal. You can hear birds in the distance, the cawing of tropical macaws. You can see the luscious foliage of the jungle island. There is a gentle breeze billowing the sails of your ship. The crew, no doubt happy to have actually made it over the waterfall at the edge of the world, are heaving to try and make what repairs are necessary. And for the first time on this voyage, you actually see a real look of hope in their eyes. You finally made it to the shores of La Fortuna. That golden city, the lost golden city, is just almost within your grasp. You can almost reach out and touch it. In fact, as you look over towards the island, the way the sunlight seems to glimmer off the thick-leafed foliage of the jungle, it's almost as though the whole island for a few moments is made of burnished gold. As the camera pans down onto the deck of the ship, we see Captain Roland, Bishop Nathaniel, and Pierre stood on board the ship. I'm going to bring up a quick map of the island. If you see that large red X, that is where your ship currently is located. I'll tell you also, this island has the aspects of gold everywhere, but where did it come from? And tropical island of hidden dangers, savages, and unquiet spirits. These are aspects that can be compelled or invoked by anyone when they're in the immediate environs surrounding the island. So as you guys look out into the distance, you can see the island. Land ho has been shouted. The wind fills the sails. The crew turn expectantly to look at you guys. What do you do?
Two questions first. What's the approximate dimensions of this island?
If you look on the map, if you can see it, one of these small hexes is 5 miles.
Yeah, it's just that the resolution isn't great. Oh, even one small hex is 5 miles. So this island's huge.
It's about 25 miles across. So no, 20, 25, 50. 100.
Oh, I see. One mile then. Per hex. Okay.
No, one of those big hexes is about 25 miles across.
Yeah, I don't see the big hexes. The resolution's kind of poor. That's okay. What was the second? Oh, the second question is, could you just repeat those two aspects? I didn't get a chance to write them down. You just whip past.
I can indeed. The first aspect is gold everywhere, but where did it come from? And the second aspect is a tropical island of hidden dangers, savages, and unquiet spirits.
Thanks.
Not a problem. Okay, so as I said, the red X on the map is where you guys are at the minute. There's some quite strong currents around the coast of the island, but it doesn't appear to be bothering your ship overly much. It may do a little bit more as you get nearer.
All right, so at this point, Pierre is probably at the bow, maybe he might be talking to one of the navigators, and having him look for an ideal landing place, something that looks like a good place we could land, or at least pull up close and then take the longboat in. To the others, Nathaniel and the captain, he says, I am having mixed feelings about this. It is certainly très excitement. Who knows what we may find here? The promises are certainly tempting. However, we are here for mixed purposes, and I am not so sure that, I would never say this to the crew, but I am not so sure that all the riches will be enough to pay for what we have suffered to get here. I am glad that we are at an end, though.
I would personally like to say I'm very grateful that we're all here, alive and well as it is today. And I'm also grateful that we have managed to traverse such horrible, horrendous obstacles in our way. Now, can we please get on the land so I can at least start looking for my son?
I'm going to turn to the navigator or whatever I had spying the shore and ask his opinion on, have you spotted a good, landing site or place where we might pull up in a longboat in without too much trouble?
He says, well, quartermaster, in order to take an accurate sort of reading, we'd have to sail around the island and look for the best place. It's pretty big, but if you want to do that, we can do that. If I was to tell you now from what we've seen now, it'd only be a best guess, quartermaster.
Capitan, what do you think? Should we land here and make our way over, exploring that way? Or should we first take a look around and then come back to here and decide from then?
I think, considering where we are here, caution may be the best. Looks almost too inviting out there, doesn't it?
I nod. You heard the captain. We do the circumference first, huh?
Plus, we don't know what's going to happen when Rotterdam Jack gets here. He may turn on us immediately. Now that he's at the island, our alliance, I say with a right twist of tongue, may...
He won't turn yet. He hasn't got what he needs, and he'll have to search for it. He can't do that without us.
But the longer we're here, the more we're in his way.
He's here now. It'll please him for now. Worst comes to worst, we'll deal with him. But I think you're right. Let's scout the area, see what's around. Map it out if we can.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we're mapping out an entirely strange new land.
A place that only one person we know has ever survived from.
To make some drawings, if you wish, eh?
I'll go get my map stuff! And I'll, rush downstairs.
I'm going to take the spyglass and, as we're circling the area, maybe at a distance of about, I don't know, what makes sense, a mile?
I'd say you're probably about sort of 5 miles out at the minute, because you're not entirely sure if there's any sort of underwater reefs or any shallows or anything like that, since it's a strange new land. So you're giving it a slightly wider berth than you would with more familiar territory.
I'll be looking for a kind of a from what I can tell looking through a spyglass, the curvature of the island, if there's a good place to hide the ship away from prying eyes and things.
Okay, not a problem. So it'll take you a fair few days to sail around the island, but I'm going to condense that down into. Well, yeah, it's a big island. So, but I'm going to condense that down and just sort of give you the Clip Notes version.
Looking for signs of habitation and things.
Indeed. So basically, what happens is you guys sail up here around the coast. As you get to here, and there's this sort of inlet, there's quite an area of strong currents around it. It seems most of the currents around the island flow into this area.
Is Rana Jack's ship with us? Where is that right now?
Yeah,
I think he appeared behind us not long after we got down.
Indeed, he sort of landed at the bottom of the waterfall after you, and his ship's sort of staying in formation behind yours at the moment.
Okay, so he's following us.
Indeed.
All right. So I'll warn the sailing master not to get too close and get sucked in.
Okay.
This looks like a natural trap, huh? Perhaps it has trapped something else in the past? I shrug.
Okay, so you continue sailing around the island. Obviously, you're making a sort of map as you go, so you can plot on what you see.
In between this time, at some point, I will speak to Nathaniel about. Does he know any legends about the island in regards to wind callers? I said, storm callers. Does this belong to one of the lords? What effects would calling have here if we're in some kind of weird in between place?
Would you like to make me some sort of scribe roll to see what you know about the island, Nathaniel?
Yeah, let's do it. That's my +5. That's my first roll of the day. Come on, pluses. Oh yeah, fantastic. +6.
Okay.
He's got the Lonely Island guide to the Fortuna.
That's it. Okay, you know that according to the ancient legends, I mean, these are like properly ancient legends, so passed down from like the very dawn of civilization. So they've become sort of slightly mythologized and distorted over the years of past. It's only natural, and it's a process you're very familiar with. All of the legends speak of like this island sort of originally being like the cradle of like civilization, home to like a great and learned civilization before people had settled on other parts of like the world, the known world. There's also legends that the people there offended the elemental lords in some way, and as a punishment, that was what led to their entire island being like pushed out of the world into the place it currently rests in. Although none of the legends are particularly clear about what exactly they did to offend the elemental lords. Most of the legends focus on like the great intellectual and temporal wealth of this ancient civilization that sort of grew up there many, many hundreds of years ago.
And I relay all this stuff to him, and I go, it's really fascinating to know that there is a world that exists somewhere. Is it between ours, underneath ours? Not heaven, not hell, some kind of strange purgatory. I don't know what effects calling would have here. I mean, I'm happy to find out. I don't know if anyone's properly charted this place or not, but it would be something interesting to write about at least.
Okay.
Stay focused, mon ami. Remember why you are here. It is not for experimentation, huh?
Yes, I know. We're here to find my son. We will find him in between looking at La Fortuna.
Just can't help learning.
So as you guys sail around this sort of northern outcropping of the island, a cry goes up from the person in the crow's nest, and you see him, so he's looking through a spyglass, and you see him sort of pointing at the sort of northern outcropping of the island. And as you follow his gaze, you can see that the sort of land rises up into a rocky promontory, sort of jutting off the main island. And what sort of rises up, tangled in all this jungle foliage, these vines and these creepers, is what appears to be the remnants of what must have been some sort of like really tall and possibly huge tower at some point, but it's like largely crumbled away, and there's only like half of it remaining.
Ooh.
And I'll put a little pin there to show you where the tower is.
I will train my spyglass on it. And any sign of movement or recent habitation or...
Okay, not a problem. Can you please make me a scribe roll?
Yeah, sorry, waiting on my... Oh. So now it's requesting permission for the fate roller.
Yeah, it does that.
Yeah, but I mean...
The price of what we pay.
Yeah, you're right. I'm making a what roll, John? I'm sorry?
A scribe roll, since it's a thinking/discovering roll.
Oh, okay. I was more just like looking, but fair enough.
All right. Well, if you're just looking, I'd say you could possibly use navigation if you wished instead. I'll let you roll with that if you prefer.
All right.
Okay.
Great.
Not a problem. So you said you were looking for recent signs of habitation. Is that correct?
Yeah. Is this just old and crumbly ruins, or is there somebody squatting there?
Okay, there doesn't appear to be any recent signs of habitation. However, as you're looking through your spyglass and training it on this sort of crumbled half tower, you can see that some parts of the outside of the tower seem to be covered in like these sort of big golden sort of rectangular plates that have strange markings that have been sort of scribed into them. It looks as though there were once like more of them coating the entire tower, but loads of them appeared to be missing. It was just like the odd one or two sort of hanging off it.
So I'm going to do three things here. I'm going to go over to the navigator, who's ever at the wheel, and tell him to slow to half his current speed. I'm going to go over to the captain and Nathaniel and point those gold plates out to them. And finally, I'm going to go over to the base of the mast where the crow's nest is, and I'm going to like rope up a measure of rum for the guy who spotted this.
You hear him shout down, "Thank you very much, Quartermaster." You hear like the thump of the cork going out. You see him like,
What do you make of those up there, Captain Bishop?
May I borrow the spyglass?
Of course, oui. Yeah.
I'll take a look.
okay, he points in the direction of this crumbled half tower, and using the spyglass, you can see, as I've described, these like one or two surviving gold plates with these strange insignia inscribed in them.
I'll draw it out so I can check it out later with dead list and everything else. But like, this is fascinating. I've never seen anything like this. Could it have been of a civilization that lived here before?
Is there any symbology which perhaps suggests some peoples or other?
I'll have to look in. It's a symbol I'm looking at from afar. I'll have to compare it to what I've got. Notes. Give me some time. I'll do some research as we're going around.
Oui. So I don't see any like campfire pits or anything like that. Signs that anyone's set foot here. Footprints. That sort of thing.
At the distance you're at, you don't see any signs of recent habitation, no.
I'll be looking for signs of other ships visiting, maybe like a boat moored up, or any signs of another ship that Nathaniel's son came on. We found that earlier, didn't we?
You don't see any signs of sort of ships here. However, using your sort of nautical knowledge, Captain Roland, you think that given that the strong currents seem to be like flowing into that sort of bay that was a good distance to the south, any sort of wreckage would inevitably be sort of like swept into that bay by the strong currents.
Yeah. No sound that we're we're the only people here. Only. Do we hear the sounds of birds and animals?
Yeah, you can hear like the screeching of jungle macaws. You can hear the chittering of animals. You're not sure of the species, but you can hear all the normal sort of jungle sounds that you'd expect. Occasionally you hear the howl of some sort of primate off in the trees.
Considering how hard it is to get here, who built all this?
Not a clue.
It is very old.
I'll get Daedalus on deck as well at some point when it was convenient for him, and ask him, does anything look different from when he was here? Where did he land? If you can remember.
Not a problem. You get Daedalus up on deck. He seems sort of looking about, and he says, "Well, there's plenty of beaches around the island. One's as good a place as any. We landed on the southern part of the island, in the southwestern part, near where we first started. We didn't see any reason to continue travelling around, and we made landfall there, and then we headed for the interior. But the terrain does get a little bit more challenging, and the deeper in you get, it's quite thick, heavy jungle, but very humid and hot."
What do you make of this, indicating the tower?
He says, yes, I do recall seeing it previously. Unfortunately, given its distance from the main part of the island, we didn't really have time to investigate it when I was last here.
We'll have to look some time. I'll do some research. I'll go downstairs and start doing some, look up the images on my book, see if I spot it from anything else, while the rest of them carry on.
Okay, not a problem.
Since we're traveling slower, just around this next little bit, while we're in proximity of the tower, I'm going to direct the sailor to sail as close as he can safely. You know what I mean? Which should be a little bit closer considering our reduced speed, just so I can get his best possible look with this spyglass. Like, I want him watched this place the whole time, and I am looking for footprints. Recently broken branches, bushes, fire pits, anything that might indicate recent habitation.
Okay, as you sort of move around the sort of the outcropping of land onto the other side, and you're seeing like the other side of the tower, you can actually see as you look through your spyglass. Now you're a bit closer. On the other side of the tower, there are a number of what look to be sharpened like wooden stakes, I suppose, or almost like spear hafts sank into the ground, and they have skulls placed on top of them.
Human skulls or animal skulls?
So, some of them are human, some of them are animals.
And this isn't like old, like with moss dripping from them and rotting stakes kind of thing.
Some of them look very old, some of them look a good deal more recent. It looks as though these stakes have been sort of sank into the ground and then these skulls pushed on top of them, almost like some sort of territorial marker or something like that.
So I'm going to point this out to the captain and Nathaniel as well. Does not appear to be very friendly.
Yes.
Well, we didn't come up here. We didn't go over here to make friends. We came here to find my son and discover what the land is about.
You may wish to bring your best fighting rapier with you today.
I merely means that if we go there, we cannot expect to be welcomed. I think we should continue on for a moment. This is not what we seek, as Nathaniel says.
I agree.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, since obviously it's taken like a while to travel around there, would you like to make your scribe roll, Nathaniel, for the sort of research you've been doing in the intervening time?
Let's do it. Here we go again. And 5.
Okay, it's very difficult to decipher even such a good roll because it's a very ancient dialect. However, the part you have managed to decipher, it seems, and it's not an exact translation, but it seems to say something about someone dying and then rising again with the power of a god.
Interesting.
You notice
Kind of
that
like
there's something strange about the intonation of it as well. It's not sort of like a prayer or something religious like that. It's very matter of fact. It's the way it's written with no more emotion than if someone was writing like a recipe down in a cooking book.
Strange. All right, I'll pop up and I'll be like, I deciphered the symbol. It's mostly based on some kind of ancient resurrection style scroll. Well, I say resurrection. I'm not quite sure how it works, but something involves someone dying then coming back, but not religiously, not with the gods. Something else. I don't have enough. We'll have to go into the building to find out anymore if we happen to be around the neighborhood.
Until we begin this voyage, I would never have sought to ask this question. However, with what we have seen so far, is this possible? Dead to life?
Daedalus is a man who cannot die because every time he attempts to die, something bad happens and saves his life anyway. I'm not about to question what De La Fortuna can do. We just sailed down a waterfall. Anything's possible.
I merely suggest if the dead can be brought back to life, this could be in a place of the miracles, huh?
Yeah. I only have one miracle in my mind so far, and as soon as I solve that, I'm done.
Well, we must stay on the focus, which is your son and the reward we so well deserve.
I fully understand.
So I'm also gonna be looking over the island for gold. I mean, it's supposed to be a city of gold, and I know you said it has a sort of goldish look to it. I'm looking for actual gold.
Okay, as you on the third day, as you're sort of training your spyglass on the beaches, you do actually spot what appears to be a sort of metallic glint on several places, just sort of scattered haphazardly around the beaches.
In pieces the size of a coin, or my fist, or my head, or
it varies. There's some pieces that are very small, some pieces that are a bit larger. The largest piece you've seen is sort of like about that sort of size.
And they're just like lying in the dirt, the sand?
Yeah,
or...
they're just lying sort of half buried or just haphazardly strewn on the sand. It's as though someone had walked around the island exterior with a giant bag of gold, just like tipping it out as they went.
And where are we at this point?
You're just on the eastern side of the tower where the red X is now on the map.
Oh, okay, right there we see it. Huh. Well, again, I feel obligated to indicate this to my companions. Could that be real? I think perhaps. How far are we from the spears and the skulls?
You'd have to trek about 5 miles inland to like reach the tower and the spears.
All right, so I think it is worth investigating. Yeah, we have some distance from those unwelcoming folk to the northwest, so perhaps it would be worth a quick look if this is real. It is one of the reasons we are here, huh?
That is true, but the minute we land, we don't know what's going to happen. Don't we want to map out the map first before we do that? The gold's not going anywhere.
You make a logical argument, and yet I feel rapacious. And I know the crew feels the same.
All right.
Very
Captain.
well.
No. Let's take it on board. Captain,
The gold would feel a lot safer on board, don't you think?
it won't hurt to simply land on shore, grab a few pieces, and come back on board. Of course, there is the whole thing about the gold being cursed, but we can do that when it comes up.
The crew's loyalty needs to be rewarded, wouldn't you agree, Pierre, at some point?
And if we try to tell this cruise they have come all this way only to take no gold at all, I think we will find our own heads on pikes, huh? And rightly so. I would not blame them. So we will take a boat in quickly. Quick look.
Okay, you land on the sort of beach about 10 miles to the southwest of where the tower is, and you head up onto this shallow sandy beach. It's white gleaming sand, and as I said, as you get closer you can indeed see there's all these like shards and bits of gold just sort of strewn haphazardly around on the sand. As you sort of like look at a few bits of it, you see that a lot of it's sort of contoured and formed as though it was once part of like a statue or something similar, but it's like it's been cracked and sort of blown apart, and there's bits of it lying everywhere.
All right, so I want to leave a crewman or two on the longboat. I'm taking the precaution here. We might have to get out of here fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to have like the motor running for all intents and purposes.
Not a problem.
Yeah, then I'm going to pick up a fist-sized chunk of this. I want to determine if it's real gold, if it's or fake gold or just plated or whatever.
Okay, not a problem. You pick up a shard of gold that's about that sort of size, but they say about your sort of fist size, but it's flat, and as you look at it, it looks as though it was once part of like sort of like a large sculpture or something, and it's that part of the face, like the lower sort of jaw and cheek.
Yeah, that's less interesting to me than the fact that is it real gold or not? Is it solid chunk of gold?
As far as by every means you have of determining at your disposal, it appears to be solid gold.
I grin widely. I will pick up another 2 or 5 chunks.
Yep, not a problem. Like I say, it's all scattered around this beach very haphazardly.
I'm going to be quickly giving orders. Grab a handful and let's make back to the boat, huh? One of these chunks alone, if it is what it appears to be, has got to be worth a fucking shit ton of money.
Oh yeah, I mean,
we bring back 3 dozen of these things, like frig.
Yeah, there's literally like a king's ransom just like lying around on this beach, as though like someone had just chucked it there, like not caring 2 figs about it.
Yeah, well, we're in a longboat. I can't bring back a metric ton, but we can bring back,
you
3 sacks full.
You don't have to tell the crew twice. They're like stuffing bits in their pockets, sticking it down their shirts, okay, scraping up like armfuls of it as much as they can reasonably fit in the boat. But you notice
Right.
the boat's sitting
No
a good
boulders or nothing.
no, the boat's sitting like a good like inch or so like lower in the water when you get not dangerously so, but obviously like the crew have sort of let their gold fever get a bit out of hand. All their pockets are bulging as they walk back towards the boats. They're like chink, chink, chink because like all their pockets and their shirts are like stuffed with gold. They're all like grinning widely. A few of them like pat you on the back as they go past, like quartermaster and captain. It's like the happiest you've seen them as far as they're concerned. They're now like the richest men ever.
Okay, so as we're making our way back to the boat, Pierre gains the aspect of sort of Damocles, and we climb aboard, and I'm going to order everyone, let's go back to the ship. I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop, that's all.
Okay. No.
When we're briefly on the island, I'll be scouting around, probably with Pierre a little bit, to see what potentially there is to restock our supplies as well, in terms of water and food. We must be sat on a...
Okay, there are a few sort of small streams that you find in the sort of area that you can get fresh water from. There's also coconuts, various other fruits, some of which you're familiar with, some of which you wouldn't be. But the fruits you are familiar with would be a welcome sort of change from the fairly dry ship's rations you've had to put up with. Obviously, you can hear there's animals in the trees. There's certainly potential for hunting animals to get meat. That would be a bit more involved. There's certainly fruit around you can like just gather. That's not a problem.
So in a longboat, I'm going to lean over to the captain. I'm going to say to him in kind of a low voice, do not misunderstand, mon capitaine. It is not greed, exactement, which drives me. I am thinking of the morale of the crew. It has been a long and difficult voyage, and the sight of something real treasure in their hands will go a long way. We will, of course, gather the supplies, as you suggest, before we depart.
Seeing is quite different from just believing. I'll tell you that, Pierre. I just hope this place is not the death of us.
Do we make it back to the ship with the gold?
Yeah, you do indeed.
All right, let's go.
You do.
We leave. Back to the boat.
Rot-eyed Jack doesn't try anything underhand. No freaky storms spring up. The gods don't reach down and smite you. You sail back on the longboat, laden down with gold, to your ship.
Okay, so I know the word's going to spread faster at the ship, and Pierre doesn't care. But he orders it all taken below deck and dumped in one room for now. And I'm going to have Nathaniel try and... What do you think? I realize we only have a few of the pieces here, looking at maybe, let's say, 3 dozen pieces of the all. But what do you think this was a statue of exactement? Does it have any significance?
I'm not sure. But do you know what this means? It means there was a civilization here. People don't just... Statues of gold don't just magic up out of nowhere. There must have been a popular visit of people living here. So the rumors are true. The waterlords punished a group of people who were so rich they had statues made of gold. You won't find it in any land.
Yeah, that is mildly interesting compared to the fact that we are all rich.
Let's not go counting our monies just yet. No one has managed to leave this place out of the Netherlands. I'm not about to believe in hope when I haven't seen the other shoe drop yet. Plus, I haven't found my son.
Pardonnez-moi, it has been a long time. It is good to finally have a reward, huh? But
hey, I'm happy you're happy. I'm just waiting to be happy too.
Is there any way we can extrapolate, John, what this statue might have been like of a
Can I get a
male warrior or
You could try the best way you could probably do that is like they're doing sort of archaeology programs where they lay out all the pieces.
Right.
Perhaps if you laid it, it'd have to be the deck.
Right.
It's quite big, but you could feasibly lay it all out on the deck and get a better, almost like a jigsaw puzzle, try and sort of fit it together to get a better idea of what it was.
Cool, I'll do that.
Okay, yeah, no problem. It takes you a few hours. So obviously, you've got to lug everything up to the deck, then you've got to sort through it all, lay it out, switch bits around, etc. But eventually, It seems to be a statue. It must have been very large. I mean, sort of like large enough that it would have stood above the trees and you would have been able to see it from a good few miles offshore. It seemed there's quite a lot of pieces missing still, but you think that it seems to be a statue of a person wearing like long robes and wearing a strange sort of almost like fan-like gold mask to give you some idea of what that might look like. Just let me switch my screen. If you look at the title screen, you see the golden mask there. It would be a mask like that, and it's a cloaked figure sort of wearing that over like the upper half of their face and holding some sort of weapon, probably a spear, you think.
But we're getting like pieces from the whole body, a bit of a foot, a bit of a leg, that kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you had to sort of like extrapolate and like guess several bits of it where most of it's missing, but that's your best guess at the minute, Nathaniel.
Have you a picture in your books that matches that face?
I'll get back on it. I'll let you know when I find something else. And I head back below deck after drawing it out a bit.
In the couple hours that he was laying out these pieces, I want to have been having a conversation with maybe one of the senior pirates on board, estimating the approximate value of all this gold. You know, and thinking about shares and how much each crewman would get and so forth.
Okay, one of the old sailors says, well, I don't mean to exaggerate, Quartermaster, but I'm pretty damn sure you could buy your own island for the gold we've got here. Maybe even buy your own fleet, if that's what tickles your fancy.
I have had access to the wealth most of my life. It is nice to have. It is something I wish the other crew can share in the enjoyment of.
Well, put it this way, sir. I've not tallied up an exact figuring of it since I'm not used to dealing with these sums. But even if we split it evenly amongst the crew, even accounting for like extra shares for like senior staff and the like, all of us will be living like kings if we can get this back, Quartermaster. Even the fucking cabin boys.
I think it's reasonable to assume we might have like a tiny smith on board, like so if we had to make like a bolt or something like that, that would be possible. So I'm going to say to him, talk to the smithy and get an estimate from him how long it would take to melt this all down. Huh?
Right. Well, I'll have a word with him, see what he says, Quartermaster. And then he heads off.
Keep it. Okay, excellent.
He sort of goes, "Oh, I get you."
So Pierre's pleased, and not because he's acquired money. Like I said, he's had riches lots of his life, but because the crew is finally going to get to share in that sort of, kind of lifestyle.
Indeed. Okay, so are you guys continuing around the island?
Yep. Well, I'm doing my research beneath it.
Okay, not a problem. So you continue making your way around the outskirts of the island. As you reach this point here where the X is now on the map, you can see a small distance inland, and I'll put a pin in it to show you that. So it'll be when you've sort of sailed around here. You can see what appears to be a couple of plumes of smoke rising above the trees.
Is it like an out of control kind of smoke, or is it like controlled thin bursts of smoke, white smoke versus black smoke?
Yeah, it's controlled thin sort of white smoke, as though like there were several campfires or something of the like lit, rather than like a raging forest fire.
And from the number of smoke trails we see, what might be a reasonable estimate of the populace of that area?
You think it's certainly, given the few wisps of smoke you see, it's probably nothing larger than like a small village. So not many people at all, maybe like a couple of dozen.
You are seeking the natives to talk to, huh?
Well, yes.
I gesture. They certainly look more welcoming than those skulls.
I'll give you that. Plus, if they're a village, that means they must have some kind of leader or some kind of person they listen to. I'm sure we can talk things out And maybe this might be a place I can start looking for Gregory.
Capitan, you're...
It's not a bad idea. We have to make landfall eventually, right?
Yes.
Oui. Would it perhaps be prudent? Could I perhaps ask, and I'm looking at Nathaniel. I'm really asking both of them, but I'm looking right at Nathaniel. That we do not mention this gold we have acquired?
Mm-hmm.
I roll my eyes like, yes, I won't mention that a crew's getting rich from the gold from the statue. We got it. Fine. Can we just go?
Really?
Okay, not a
Gold
problem.
is
So,
irrelevant right now. All I care about is making sure everything's fine and my son is safe.
okay,
I
so
have to
are
care
all
about
three of
security.
you guys going ashore, or?
Yeah, but I was going to ask Pierre one question in terms of food resources. How many days can we stay here before we have to leave? What kind of time frame do we have?
You can tell me if I'm wrong here, John, but I'm going to go on what I remember. I suspect we have maybe 2-3 days if we do not resupply from here before we will have to turn around, or we will have to be rationing on the way back. But if we can resupply on the island, the water, the coconuts, a week or more.
Yeah. Good. Just once we're on the island, we don't know what's going to happen, so we need to keep that in mind when we have to get back to the ship if things go awry.
Well, if there are the people living here, then they must have a steady, regular food source. So that bodes well for us, huh?
I will also insist that Nathaniel brings his training wheels rapier with him.
Wait, what?
I thought you had a weapon
No,
you
no.
were given.
Oh, yes, but I don't
I do
actually know
not-
how to use this thing.
I do not think that is appropriate. I think better would be if he were to bring his charm and disarming disposition. Huh?
You are in a jolly good mood today, aren't you, Pierre?
The whole crew. It is. I feel like the Saint Nick is the giver of presents. I have been promising them treasures for days, weeks, months on end, after hardship, and finally, I have something tangible to give them. It is a good feeling.
Something to tell the boys back at High Fort, no? Or Low Fort.
If I ever go back.
I lean into Roland. We call it below fort.
Low Fort. Huh. Is that the church's official stamp?
that's what they call it in the pubs.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay,
let's
so
go.
you guys head aboard in the long ship. Again, you see another sort of white, pristine beach. There are bits of gold scattered around on this beach as well. There's not quite so much as the beach you're previously on, but there's more sort of like smaller shards of gold scattered around. And then you can see beyond it heads into a sort of lush green grassland. And then beyond that is this thick, hot, humid, luscious green jungle. You can hear the cawing of birds and animals beyond it.
I'd like to say we have maybe a half a dozen crewmen with us, all wearing red shirts.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not going to pick up any gold, but I just want to try and look at the pieces to discern if they're from the same statue or a different statue.
It's difficult to tell because these are quite a lot smaller, but they certainly could be from the same statue. You find yourself thinking that perhaps if like this statue was originally in the center of the island and somehow it got, because it was the way Nathaniel described it, it was like properly huge. If it had got blown up somehow, perhaps like it was just like scattered in like all directions around the island, like bits of it landing everywhere.
That answers the first aspect of the island. Okay, excellent. Well, yeah, I'll continue on towards where we think the village is, I guess.
Okay, not a problem. You make your way through the jungle. Like I said, after a few moments of walking, you're all soaked with sweat. It's very hot, very humid. You guys have been used to being at sea where there's normally like a nice breeze and the weather's a bit cooler. Now you find yourself in this jungle. It's quite claustrophobic, very hot. You find yourself drinking a lot more of your water just to keep your fluid intake up. But eventually these trees start thinning out a little. And just beyond, you can see a collection of what appeared to be 6 sort of mud huts with branches used to, round huts with branches used to make the roofs of the huts. And you can see a sort of fairly reasonably sized campfire lit in the center of these 6 huts that are all in like a circle. You can see a number of natives, you presume, all wearing fairly simple like cloth clothing, sort of moving around. Some of them are women carrying like baskets with coconuts, fruit in, etc. You can see there's some animal, you're not quite sure because it's been skinned and it's just like a hunk of meat on a stick, sort of sticking out at an angle over the fire, so it's like cooking slowly. You can hear the fat sizzling as it drops onto the stones at the side of the fire. There's people sort of like talking, although you can't really make out what they're saying at the distance you're at the minute.
Can we hear enough to know if we know the language?
You'd have to get a little bit closer, because I say you just hear general sort of murmuring at the minute.
We will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just need to pick out a few syllables, but yeah, we will continue slowly.
As you move closer, you're surprised to find that a number of them are actually speaking in the sort of common trade language that is used amongst people. It's quite broken and with a very heavy accent, but it is the trade tongue. But they're also speaking in like another language, which you presume to be their own language, that you're not familiar with. But it's interspersed with these odd words in the trade tongue. So you're sort of picking up the odd sort of few words or sentences.
Interesting, don't you think?
It's a strange dialect to have a bunch of people that no one has ever managed to leave from before, but I'll take it.
One thing does strike you as odd, though. As you get nearer and you can sort of see a bit more of them in the sort of light of the campfire, you can see that most of them are wearing sort of gold ornaments of some kind, like bracelets, bits of gold on like necklaces, on like strings.
A rich indigenous people who don't understand the meaning of gold itself. Whew, it's like conquering the colonies all over again. Right. Let's get in there.
I will follow your lead, monsieur.
Let's hope they're friendly. And I'm going to pop on up and be like, what ho? I'm not quite sure what the official greeting would be to greet a bunch of people like in a native environment, but I'm like, I just sort of wave my hand at them, be like lift both my hands up and just sort of just wave it forward as I'm walking up.
Okay, a couple of them sort of talk amongst themselves in their own language quite excitedly. One of them nudges a small child and he runs off into one of the huts, and he comes back out leading a slightly older gentleman who's obviously shares the sort of physical characteristics of the other tribes people here, and he's wearing this very simple sort of like white robe. He comes walking, he looks very serene on his face. He's holding his hands together. He walks towards you and still heavily accented, but in with a much firmer grasp of the trade language. He says to you, "The blessings of the elemental lords to you."
I already love this place. And also with you, I say, as I like visibly look much calmer and much less worried now. Like everything, like all the like tension I had of are they just gonna start shooting? It's all gone. I just sigh deeply. As one old man to another, can I just say it's grateful to know that the elemental laws do hold some presence on this island. We are from a ship that has just sailed in from the waterfall just above you. We are looking for people like us and also to explore the land. Will you please grant us parley and a moment of your time?
Yes, we will give you. We'll give you some of our time. Most others who arrive here are searching for something. they place great value on the things that we have. And he looks puzzled as he's saying this, and he gestures at some of the gold ornaments and like bracelets he's wearing, and he looks generally puzzled. Where he's like, oh, your sort seem to like go mental over this shiny like yellow metal, and he sort of shrugs. But yes, we will give you some of our time.
Thank you. I look at the rest. I would like you to meet some of my crewmen. And I look over at Pierre, be like, oh, introduce yourself. Man speaks tongue.
So I smile and really I do sort of like a small court bow. Recognize him at least as an authority figure or a respected figure here. It is nice to be welcomed into a group.
Okay, now I'd actually like to offer you a compel here, Pierre. Since you're an easily bored hedonist and everyone knows that you have a bit of a way with the ladies, there are several ladies around here. You have a certain air of the exotic about you as far as they're concerned. I don't think it's inappropriate that some of them might have taken an interest in you, shall we say.
Okay, so I'm going to accept that. So I say what I just said to him. And then as I'm talking, I'm also kind of looking around, appreciating the exotic beauties I see here and there.
Okay, yeah, you see a sort of a fairly sort of scantily. They're all wearing simple clothes. They're not wearing the sort of multi-layered clothing. It's far too hot to wear any of that shit here. But there's a fairly sort of scantily clad woman beyond him who sort of her eyes meet yours for a few moments. She doesn't say anything, but she sort of smiles at you as your eyes meet for a few moments.
So I'm still talking to this guy, but I'm not looking at him. I'm looking at this woman. I'm saying, I assume, monsieur, there are no rules. I'm slowly starting to walk towards her against becoming friendly with your villagers, fellow villagers.
Can I see this happening?
Yeah, you can see this happening. The guy who Pierre's talking to doesn't seem to pick up on the subtext at all. Obviously, the trade tongue is not his first language. He's missing some of the subtleties. And he says, no, we are all friends here.
Excellent. It seems, Nathaniel, you have this well in hand. I am going to mingle and learn what I can about the people in a more direct way.
I am going to put a hand on Pierre's shoulder and be like, oh, Pierre, I couldn't possibly have the person who is most skilled at keeping the safe away from me talking to other people while I am speaking to the chieftain.
Knowing him as I do, when he goes to put his hand on me, I'm just going to do like a fencing maneuver and just like kind of roll out of it. So he never makes contact. I'm just going to like sort of wave, you have this, you are fine. And I'm going to continue walking towards this.
Yeah, you're basically like, oh, we need to stay with you, Pierre. And he's like, yeah, just holler if you need me. Bye.
Yeah, bye. I'm standing there going, I'm going to kill him later. And then I'll go back to the man and be like,
totally worth it. Totally worth it.
I'll be like, yes, please, please, let us speak of your people, of your land, of the people you've seen before, any ships that's come by. I am glad to share information with you. We come in peace. In fact, I'll be happy to hear more of your tongue. I don't believe I've heard a tongue like that before.
We do not need any of your information. We have everything we need here, but we have before seen others like you who have come to this island. I say they seem to get a strange fever when they see the yellow metal, and most of them head towards the center of the island, and we never see them again.
Is that how you picked up our words?
No. I learnt your tongue from a young man who came through this village. It was he who told me about the elemental lords. He spent a long time here in the village. He got to know. He learnt some of our ways, and we learnt some of his ways.
He seems like a really fine man. Did he go into the center of the island as well?
No, he came here with a group of men. I don't know the leader of their band seemed greatly affected by the fever for the yellow metal, and he was determined that they would head towards the center of the island. But when the rest of them left, the young man decided to stay here with us. He said he had seen enough, and he did not desire the yellow metal anymore. He said there were people he could help here, and he stayed with us for a time, and then I believe he moved on, planning to visit some of the other villages on the island.
Did he have a name?
Yes, it was a strange name. It is difficult for us to pronounce him. Grigori.
Go on. Was it Grigori Devolia?
I don't know. I only the only name I heard him use was Grigori.
How long was he here for?
He stayed here for many times the passing of the sun.
How long did he leave and which direction?
He left us after. And obviously, you pick up that he's talking about days. You get the feeling that he's saying that basically he stayed with them for 3 weeks, and then he left. He headed south towards the island. I told him to stay on the outside of the island. Some of the tribes on the interior of the island are not as friendly as we are to those who come from outside. But there is a village on the south, and he sort of gestures and he's pointing at the southwestern part of the island, so in that direction. There is another village far in that direction. And I told him that if he was looking for people who would listen to his message, he would probably find people there. And I believe that's where he headed to. I advised him to stay to the beaches since they are easy to travel. He did not seem to do well with traveling through the jungle with the heat. So I told him if he stuck to the beaches, it would take him longer, but he would probably find the travel easier.
I visibly sigh and I go, thank you very much. You've lifted a weight from my shoulders. I will probably be following in that man's footsteps. But until then, we are here for a short while. Please tell me more of your people. Tell me of the stuff he told you. Tell me the things he taught you. Tell me what he learned. Is he all right? Has he got scars? Is he hurt? Is he bleeding a little? Tell me more of your people, less of him. I do apologize. This is rather rude. I'm just a little bit surprised that he's fine.
Well, in our ancient legends that are passed down from mother to son, from son to daughter, from father to daughter, we believe that once, a long time ago, we were a great people, but then our people, they tried to raise themselves up, and in doing so they offended some of the great spirits who rule this world, and we now pay the price for their mistakes. We are trapped here in this place. We were pushed away from the rest of the world. We lost our greatness, and we are now reduced to what you see here. But although we have fallen somewhat here in this village, there are those tribes in the interior who have completely given themselves over to savagery, and they have fallen far further than we have.
Oh, thank you very much. And then I'll spend most of my time basically talking about their culture and then picking things up and making notes. Stuff basically about how they live their lives, what their beliefs are, other than the elemental lords. I can't believe my son is going around preaching. Oh, he's so good. So proud of him right now. Oh my God. But yeah, that's what I'm doing.
You basically gather that previously they seem to believe in sort of like nature spirits and sort of spirits of like the ancestors. But when Grigori arrived, he basically said to them, like, the way he sort of got over the idea of the elemental lords is he portrayed them as sort of like the greatest of spirits that sort of like ruled over all the other spirits, and that's how he sort of found his in to start sort of like preaching the word of the elemental lords. And because they were like, oh, well, that makes sense. If there's small spirits and bigger spirits, why aren't there like even bigger spirits that are in charge of them? So they've actually quite readily sort of incorporated what he told them into their belief system.
Ooh, God, he's so smart. I raised him so well. But yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. So you can pretty much cut. I mean, that's us just sitting down talking about his culture. I'm learning what they eat. I'm learning about food and supplies and stuff like that. I can give back to the captain.
Yeah, he talks about the animals that are on the island. That you basically work out. There's apes on the island. There's snakes, bears, various other types of animals you'd expect to find in a jungle. He also says a strange word that doesn't mean anything to you, but you eventually, through sort of like him pantomiming it out, he describes that there's several sort of species of like really, really big animals on the island.
Ooh. Oh, one more thing I'm gonna do while I'm here, because then I'm pretty much done. Is that I'm gonna try and pick up as much of his language as I can. I know you can't learn a language in like a day, but I'm going to fucking try.
Okay, make me a scribe roll.
Come on, dice. Dice. 4. And if it's not good enough to get a successive style, I will spend a fate point on hardened academic of the high seas.
Okay, you're not completely conversant in the language by the end of the time period, unsurprisingly. However, you have picked up the sort of the basics of their language, the sort of the conversational part of it. So you could probably ask simple questions or like pick up simple concepts off them, you know, like what's that over there? How far is that, etc.
It helps too that we already knew some of the words that they were using.
That's it, exactly. I mean, the only reason you've been able to pick that up at all is because this guy you're talking to understands some of your language, so you can sort of work it out between you what he's talking about. If you were just talking to one of the people who doesn't speak the trade tongue, you'd probably have very little chance. So while all this like native Q&A is going on, what's Roland up to? Obviously, we've got some idea of what Pierre's up to, but
I'll mute myself first. El Capitan, he's going to be looking around the village, actually, looking for signs of the older civilization, like pathways, signs of, like indications what this place used to be, like a city.
Okay, that's cool. So I tell you what, why don't you make me, since you're exploring, why don't you make me a navigator roll?
Navigator. I shall navigate. I know absolutely nothing.
Are you going to stick with that roll?
I'm going to spend a fate point if I can.
What aspect are you using?
I'm going to use my renowned, Watermont Naval Officer Brace pistols, and the fact that during my education at Watermont, I've learned about navigation. Like, I've learned how to navigate by sea. So, or is that too tangelically?
I'd say that's a little bit too tenuous. To be honest. Most of your education probably didn't cover like finding lost civilizations on like islands halfway between the worlds, the living and the dead.
Could I use my washed-up windcaller child prodigy high concept by using a bit of light wind calling to like go above the tree canopy and stuff and get to places where I wouldn't normally be able to get to easily?
Yeah, go on, I'll allow that. Okay. So spend your fate point. Okay, eventually by sort of like moving to an elevated position and looking around, you do see signs that there were once sort of paved walkways in this area, almost like sort of like, the Roman road style sort of walkways, but they've long since sort of been pulled up or the materials taken away to be used for other things. It's only by the way that some of the sort of trees are sort of laid out in very neat sort of rows that you're able to tell, and you only notice that because of your elevated position. It's quite clear that there was once, as Nathaniel quite rightly surmised, a much more highly advanced civilization here, but like it looks like it must have been an immeasurably long time ago.
Yeah. In between Nathaniel trying to learn about the people, I'll try and get him to translate information about other parts of the island if they could give us an idea of where to avoid if there's like hostile tribes. Usually in these sort of things, there's like the tribes on the island have different cultures, right? So it's not necessarily these are going to be all friendly.
Well, also, if it's an island of hidden dangers, maybe they could tell us where some of those dangers are hiding.
Yeah, uncover some of them for us. That would be great.
Okay, not a problem. So can you make me an officer roll?
An officer roll, yeah.
Okay, they tell you that there's 3 sort of villages of what they call those who take the heads of their enemies in the middle of the island who are extremely hostile even to them. And there's another village like them who are just trying to get by, trying to like live their lives, who aren't hostile to sort of outsiders sort of to the southwest of the island, but the sort of the more hostile elements are secluded around the south. They also mention something that they call the Bay of Spirits, and they say that it's a place where the spirits of the dead don't rest easy, and it's one of their sort of tribal taboos that they never go there.
Can they give us like a general direction to those places?
Yeah, after a bit of discussion and with him sort of pointing out and like even like drawing a sort of a little bit of a map in the dirt with a stick, you think he's talking about the sort of bay where you sense the strong currents as you came round the island.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Apart from that, I'll just be keeping an eye on any crew that we've got with us, and try maybe to negotiate some trade for like supplies or anything that they have that's useful for us.
They say that they can't give you a lot because they need most of it for themselves, but they're certainly happy to share some of what they have got with you. They seem to mostly live off like berries and fruits and sort of coconuts, etc., and stuff they collect, supplemented occasionally with like meat that their hunters bring in.
Is it possible to tell if any of them are callers?
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Make me a scribe roll.
A scribe roll, okay. I'm gonna use a fate point regardless of the result, I think, here, because this is something I'm personally curious about. Yeah, I'm gonna spend a fate. I'm gonna spend my high concept, and I'm actually gonna spend 2 fate points if possible. I'm going to spend my Washed Up Wind Caller Child Produce. I'm a wind caller. And hunted by the Church of the Followers because I sort of would know what to look for.
Okay.
If someone's trying to hide it, because I'm used to hiding my abilities myself.
So you're taking it up to a +3, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. They don't seem to have any sort of what you know as storm callers at present. However, talking with this guy who appears to be like the tribal chief, you definitely get the idea that they used to have storm callers, because when you talk to him about the more sort of like ancient legends of his tribe, he talks about that they used to be like great heroes and sort of great leaders who could sort of command the earth to like rise up or control the winds, etc. But the way he's talking about it, it's quite clear that like no one in living memory in their like village has like seen one of these people. They're definitely something like, we had these great heroes like far in the past, but that's it. There's no signs that they have any people like that at present.
Is there any like stories of what happened to them that survived?
He says that only legends. Some people say that when we offended the great spirits, they were taken from us. Others simply say they died or were killed, but by the headhunters. We don't know, but certainly in as far back as my memory and the memory of everyone in this village goes, we don't have any people like that now.
That's weird. That's unusual. You usually get 1 or 2, especially in these kind of places where they haven't been taken by the church. It's really odd. I'll ask Nathaniel when he's free with this, because I imagine Nathaniel's like full on scribe mode. There's like pages and pages of notes. He's covered in ink and stuff. And he's completely forgot about Gregory for the moment. When you get a chance, I'll ask him to keep an eye out for any signs, if you can translate like the signs or the history of this place, anything mentioning of the callers. I feel like something happened
what I can
here.
find out.
I feel like something happened here.
I think you're probably right, but I don't know where to begin to start looking. We'd have to stay for weeks to search it out, and I don't know how long we're going to have.
We haven't got weeks.
But I'm happy to do as much research as I can.
Okay, so meanwhile, Pierre, you've been having a pleasant few hours with this young lady in one of the huts. She doesn't seem to speak a word of your language, but you seem to sort of muddle along fairly well between the two of you. After all, the biology doesn't really need a language, so you sort of muddle your way through. As you finish, she basically puts like a garland of these flowers around your neck, so that as you're pulling your clothes back on, and smiles at you.
So I'll smile at her inquisitively, like, is there a meaning? Have I seen anyone else wearing these garlands?
Not that you've noticed.
I hope I haven't broken some cultural taboo, but
Watch this.
in any case, I'm going to just smile and, I'm going to get up and get dressed and go back out looking for my companions.
Okay, not a problem. After a few hours, Pierre comes like bouncing out of this hut, bit of a spring to his step, smile on his face, this like beautiful garland of multicolored flowers around his neck.
I look
In my conversation with this dude, is there any significance in the flowers around his neck?
He's not mentioned it.
And I haven't seen anyone else with flowers around their neck, so.
No. However, as you come out, the person that the two of you have been talking to, the chief, stands up and he has a big beaming smile on his face. He walks over to Pierre and he sort of gives him like a full-on like hug, like patting him on the back. Still like a big smile on his face.
Well, I need a few hours of rest, I think.
He says to you, he says, "Oh, there'll be time to rest later, but we must prepare. That there are ceremonies, blessings."
Fuck you.
Oh.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Is there like a reclining chair I can lean backwards, cross my legs, grab a drink, and be like, "Oh no, we'll talk about this now. We'll talk about this now. Please, sir, do not hesitate. On with the ceremonies. Please continue."
He walks over to the hut where the young lady is now, sort of like she's got her clothes back on and is emerging. He talks to her a bit in his own language, which, due to your sort of conversational pickings up, you're able to work out that he seems to be referring to the woman as a daughter, Nathaniel.
Oh, wonderful! I look at Pierre and go, "You have made your bed. You are going to lie in it. I am not going to even say a word. You are on your own."
The chieftain leads his daughter over to you, Pierre, and he like places her hand in your hand, and then he turns around.
I do not understand.
I believe the man may. That is, if you like to meet, I believe the man's daughter, the chieftain's daughter.
She did not mention that she was the daughter of him.
Do you speak the language?
I tried to speak to her, but I did not understand what she said. Well, I understood a little.
I look at the man and I go, exactly what are the ceremonies, if you don't mind me asking?
He turns towards you and says, "My daughter has chosen him. He will be welcomed into our tribe. There will be dancing, singing, eating. He will be given the markings of our people."
And perhaps when I return here to retire, I will enjoy that very much.
Oh, we cannot wait. It must be done this evening.
I'm afraid that is impossible. We have more pressing affairs.
To do
I
less
don't
would
know.
anger the
I'm
spirits.
sure we've got time. Roland, can we stay a day?
Have you forgotten about your son? Have you
believe we've got the
learned
supplies,
anything
but-
of his... He can wait.
Oh, my son can wait. This is
Yeah.
worth it.
That seems good character. I do not understand.
It is our custom that the women, when they find a man they wish to be with, they choose them, they lie with them, and then they mark them with these. And he gestures at the flowers that you're wearing around your neck.
Well, that is a most interesting custom. However, it is not a custom that I was aware of, nor one I follow. Also, I respect your freedom to follow such customs. I'm afraid I have other business on this island, and then we must be away.
The chieftain looks sort of back in your direction, Nathaniel. He looks a bit sort of confused / uncertain.
I'm like, I'm sitting there like, oh man, this can only get better. And I sort of lean forward and go, I believe the man is saying that we unfortunately have some pressing business that we need to get onto outside of the village. But I'm certain he's more than willing to come back to be with this woman for all eternity and be part of the tribe tonight. Am I wrong?
When I wish to retire, yes, I will return to this place.
Oh, of course, when you wish to retire.
The chieftain
course.
says, the chieftain says, of course you would be free to go, but we really must do the ceremony this evening. To not do it this evening would offend the spirits.
I am in full agreement
Except
that the ceremony must go on this evening.
What does this
Yeah.
ceremony? What meaning does this ceremony have?
As we say, we mark the woman and the man to symbolize that they are joined together. We give a blessing. There is drinking and eating, all as one tribe to welcome the person in. And he also like struggling slightly with his words to convey this, to welcome them into our tribe.
No, monsieur. I have made no such agreement to be with her permanently. I have made no such agreement to any woman. It was a emotional, physical attraction. We both are happy. We both had fun, and we will keep this as a fond memory.
He turns to his daughter and he says something in his own language, which Nathaniel, you sort of vaguely pick up. He seems to be like explaining to his daughter that like Pierre's like, refusing the ceremony. At which point the woman sort of like bursts out into tears and like runs back into the hut from which she emerged from.
I am sorry she feels that way, but at no point was I asked how I feel about something more permanent. At no point was this offer made to me.
I'm once again, I'm not saying anything. I'm just sitting there, my arms full of going, oh boy.
Yeah, I'm not letting this guy railroad me.
The chief of the tribe says, I am sorry you feel that way. This is our way, but I understand if you do not follow our ways, we of course will not try and keep you here.
No disrespect to your daughter, she is très magnifique. I was not asked in advance nor told of this customs that it is so permanent. Perhaps indeed I will choose to come back here one day and spend the rest of my days with her, but that is not the choice I can make on this day, monsieur. I hope you understand.
If you come back to our village, unfortunately, she will not be here. She cannot stay in the village.
Oh, and why is that?
He turns around and looks at you as though it's the most obvious thing in the world and says, whether you follow our ways or not, she has chosen this man and she will now follow him. If you're not staying with the tribe, then she will go with you. That is our way.
No, it's not the first time Pierre said to ditch a woman. I'm just going to shrug. Pierre feels no guilt at all. He feels like he was tricked, and now they're trying to trap him, and he's not going for it.
I'll look at
Okay.
Pew and I go, these people have done us a massive service, including happen to have told us where Gregory was and where Gregory has been here and is going. And
Are
that's his
most
daughter you
generous
just
and
burned.
friendly. No, monsieur, I did not spurn her at all. She was very happy when we left the tent. But she cannot claim that this is a for all of my life when she has not even asked to feel about such an agreement in advance. No, monsieur. That
Not
is
only that,
not
but you've
fair, and I
also
will not
technically
accept
ruined
it.
that woman's life because she has to follow you now.
Sleep with me, and I chose the same. Time was I informed the significance of such, otherwise I would not have done so.
As you're
I'm
saying
not the
this, the
scoundrel or dog you tried to paint me.
as you're saying this, the young woman has like emerged, sort of dried her eyes, and she's emerged from the hut. She starts going around to the other like members of the tribe who are sort of in the area. A number of them like hug her or sort of say things to her. You think effectively, Nathaniel, from what you're picking up, that like the members of the tribe are like saying goodbye to her.
Wow! Wow, this is getting even worse. Oh boy. I'll look over at Pierre and I'll be like, I guess you can take the noble out of lawful, but you can't take the lawful out of the noble, right?
Sis, if you are implying that I owe this woman some sort of obligations, then I disagree with you, monsieur.
Oh
We have,
no.
as far as I'm concerned, the bargain has been fulfilled.
I am definitely not accusing you that you owe her something. I am, however, saying that you have created this problem that we're having to deal with.
I could argue that they created this problem by not informing me, huh? I would not have taken such actions otherwise. I'm sorry, monsieur. I do feel some sympathy for this woman, and if she wishes to follow me around like a puppy, there is little I can do. But I will not wed her out of guilt.
So while this conversation is going on, what's Roland thinking of all these shenanigans that are occurring?
Roland is bemused that Pierre's got himself into hot bother again. As he watches the exchange and Nathaniel getting blusterful. Pierre plays by his own rules. As long as he keeps the ship in good order, what he does in his spare
It's all
time.
good. I'll go up to the chieftain and be like, Chieftain, is there a way to, let's say, reverse the hold all the flower giving? Something we can do, some anti thing so she doesn't have to leave home and she won't be shamed?
He looks at you and says, "There is one way, but it is not a thing we do lightly."
Pierre must
Oh
die.
boy, here we go.
He looks at you and says, "In order for this joining to be broken, the link between their blood must be severed. They must hunt one of the great creatures of this island. It must then be made as an offering to the spirits, as an apology for the mistake, asking them to sever the joining between them. If that is done and is done respectfully, then they are both, I do not know how exactly to put this in your words, but they are both given a new life, and because they have new lives, they are no longer they're joined together or bound by their old lives. Do you understand?
I think I sort of get it. More importantly, is there a large creature that fits this exact description that we could use that may not be in our path? Please.
There are many large creatures near the interior of the island. That is why we do not go there often.
All right. Then how about this? How about this for a compromise? We will do what we can, because at some point I feel we might have to go to the inner part of the island anyway. And if we find a larger creature of such size, we shall bring it here and make the offering.
Very well. Until you do this, though, she must stay with her chosen.
I look at Pierre like, piece of shit. And I look back at my work like, all right. And I'm going to go to Roland. Roland, good news.
Good news. What's up?
We have picked up a new member of the crew.
Okay. Have they donated some of the warriors to our team as we explore, or perhaps?
Oh, no. Wonder Woman is now betrothed to wonderful quartermaster Pierre, who, by the way, is no longer taking that as a thing. And she has to follow him.
Roland's taking a little sip of his flask at the...
I'm looking at him. I know it's serious, but I'm also giggling as well, going, I can't believe this is happening.
I didn't think Pierre was a settling down type.
Oh, neither did I. And look where we are. But I lean towards him. I'm not gonna lie. I am rather enjoying this.
I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I should let her join the crew to teach him a lesson.
It feels like it. But if we simply happen to come across a larger creature of some kind and we happen to slay it and bring us an offering, we can break the pact. Now, Pierre doesn't really care either way for what happens to this woman. So technically, I guess it's up to us.
Well, it wouldn't do well to destroy a young woman's life on this island, just because.
Because Pierre is Pierre.
Yeah.
I'm sure it won't take long for us to find something of that repute on our way into the island anyway. I just figure it would be a good thing to do on the side.
What are you going to do, Nathaniel, if you find that your son has settled down on the island with a wife?
Well, he's going to grab his wife. I'm going to go home with him. Unless he proves to me that somehow he is learns of his ways and decides to settle down on the island. At which point I'll just knock him unconscious and drag him with me.
Just like
and
the
I say
church
like a matter of fact nod.
Just like the church would.
Just like the church would. Some things do work in the Inquisition, you know.
As he says, some things do work in the Inquisition. For a few brief moments, Roland, you find yourself thinking back to that vision you had of Nathaniel sort of standing there as a sort of a priest linked to the Inquisition in the possible future that the Baron showed you. And
Initiate order 7 days from now.
You feel a cold chill run down your spine as he goes, some things the Inquisition does have right, you know.
I'm beginning to think that this pirate in life may be adversely affecting you. As I just claps him on the shoulder. Let's go find your son.
I'd be like, let's go find my son. Also, nonsense. I'm having the time of my life.
Okay.
I'm guessing Daedalus is with us as well. I don't know if we've established that.
Yes, Daedalus is with you, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in case it comes up.
Yeah, just assume he sort of stood in the background, sort of like marveling at all the stuff around, occasionally chatting with Nathaniel about the various fauna and flora of the island.
So does this lady have a name?
Her name is Devala.
Devala? Ooh, that's a nice name.
Ooh, that's a great name.
Ooh. So is she like following Pierre around?
Pierre. Pierre's not having any of our shit today. Pierre's like, no, I'm not having it. Nope, don't care. Don't give a fuck. And I'm gonna be like, well, I'll go up to her and try and speak terribly in the tongue and be like, fine to follow us. Just stay close. We'll keep you fed, and let's not make this awkward.
She sort of looks up at Pierre, so like her head's been like held down. She looks at Pierre, you see like her lip like quivering slightly, and sort of like the threat of like tears gathering at the corner of her eyes, and she says, yes, of course I will stay close.
I'm not going to be mean and mistreat her. I'm just not accepting that a few hours together makes a commitment.
And to be fair, I entirely don't blame you. Okay, so I will be right back, guys, in a few moments. So if you guys want to have a think about how you want to progress into the island, I'm just going to nip to the little GM's room, and then we'll continue in a few short moments.
Boom.
So if we're making a trip to the interior, then
not yet.
Oh, okay. What's the next plan?
We could go into interior, but we have no real reason to just yet, especially because Gregory is walking around the beaches.
Oh, I thought he was in the
might
interior.
as well- Oh no, he's walking. That's why I was like, I'm not worried about Gregory right now because he's intentionally staying away from the interior area. So we
Did he
keep
say how
mapping
long
the
ago?
island. He said, I mean, I look at Roland, like it was a few days ago. I don't know what time they use for measuring, but it was a few days ago at least. All I have to do is just follow the beaches and keep up with this trail until we find him.
How long has he been missing in totality? Like since you've known he's been gone?
Since I started, so maybe 4 months.
4 months. Okay.
But remember,
So-
while we were inside the purgatory area, time moved weirdly and different. There's nothing
Exactly.
to say time doesn't move differently here too.
So, in a crude sense, we came to this island with two big check boxes: get gold, find your son. Far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned, we've checked off one of those boxes. Let's get the other one checked off and get the fuck out of here. This island is full of dangers.
We haven't actually seen any dangers yet other than the skulls. But something tells me,
The
we're here. We
islanders
might
told
as
us
well
of a
see
whole
what's-
bunch of dangers.
I feel
Well,
like
a
that
few
cooked somewhere.
bad things. There's also a philosopher's cup we're trying to find. No, philosopher's stone
Why?
we're trying to find, and a philosopher's cup.
Why?
Because they're powerful treasures that might be useful. But Gregory
they're
first,
mine.
and then we'll decide.
They're
that.
minor check boxes.
Okay, so as you guys are heading inland, presumably you're heading sort of southwestwards.
No, we're not. We're not heading inland. We're heading
right,
back
okay.
to the ship.
No.
We're going to continue to do the beaches thing,
Yeah,
looking for
we
Gregory.
gotta keep
Okay.
going around until we find Gregory, because we know he's going around the beaches, so we'll do that.
Inland can wait.
Okay, not a problem. So you continue for 1, 2, 3, 4 days around the island. As you get to here, you can again see what appear to be the signs of sort of smoke rising over the trees.
All right, that's another settlement. Gregory probably stopped here. Let's do what we did before. We picked up a bit of language, might help. I'm sure these will also be friendly.
Oui.
Okay, so what are you doing, guys?
We're going to go talk to them and see if they've seen Gregory.
Okay, you
Yep.
start making your way in the land towards where you've seen these campfires rising from. As you start sort of making your way inland, eventually you can hear the sound of like sort of low drumming from just beyond the trees. Like, dum, 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 dum.
Assuming they come from where these fires were?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And as you get closer, you can sort of smell like meat cooking over a fire.
Well, we're going to stop for a minute. Is this where they said the other safe camp was?
I'm not sure, but I'm sure the drumming is nothing importantly bad.
No, they said the other friendly village is in the southwest of the island. You're in the southeastern part of the island at the moment.
Perhaps it would not be wise to continue?
Well, Gregory goes to Wayne by the beaches. He would have stopped here. It won't hurt to look.
Yes, it could very well hurt to look.
Come on, just don't sleep with the chiefs and dogs, and we'll be fine. Just come along.
Do you not understand the danger here? These could be savages who will attack us on sight.
And you've won the Law Fort Championships 3 times in a row. You'll be fine. Come along. Have some faith in your abilities. I say, more obviously, you really want to go check if Natalia's okay. No, Natalia, Gregory's okay, but trying to play it off like, yeah, I'm cool. It's all right.
It's not the question of battling one-on-one. It is a question of being outnumbered 10-1 or worse.
Worst comes to worst, we'll just look and then we'll leave. Let's just be quiet and just approach gently.
No, that is not the worst that could come from this.
That's also probably a good point. Worst comes, we'll die, but we'll be fine. Just stay quiet.
How about we approach and observe and try to determine if they may be friendly or not before we openly start speaking to them?
Well, that was what I was suggesting.
While they're arguing, John, is it possible for me to use my wind calling to climb up like a nearby tree or something to have a get a better look at where this noise is coming from?
Yeah, I'm not going to make a roll to do that. That's not a problem. Because you're just climbing it normally, using the wind to like lift you up and help you a bit. That is not a problem at all. You climb up one of these tall jungle trees, you can get a better vantage point. And looking down into the sort of clearing, you can see a number of like chunks of meat on sticks around these fires cooking. And sat around are a number of these natives, probably about 18 or so in all, but they're all wearing this like white paint that sort of gives them like almost like painted like skulls and bones on their skin. They're again wearing the sort of golden decorations, but it's more sort of like pierced sort of stuff through their like cheeks and through their ears rather than the sort of the necklaces, etc. Most of them, the men there are holding like sort of fairly like savage looking spears. You watch as one of them picks a hunk of meat out of the fire and sort of like tears off a chunk of it. However, as you look at it, you can see that the most dissetting thing is as he lifts this chunk of meat up and that tears a bit off with his teeth, you can see that the chunk of meat has an anchor tattooed on it.
Right on. That's it. I'm going to tap them on the shoulders. I'm going to go like this, and I'm leaving.
Yeah, Pierre's like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
I'm out.
Friggin' right. Damn straight.
I'll be like, wait, Roland, could you check to see any signs of someone else is alive in there?
Not waiting.
I just have this horrible image that he just shouted that up the tree.
No, I whispered it.
He's like bellowed it at me.
Yeah, it's not like, hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys. I'm not that bad.
Okay, yeah. So Nathaniel whispers up to you. Can you see if there's anyone else alive there?
I'll have a look.
Okay, you don't see any obvious signs of any sort of non-natives being alive in the village. However, several of the hunks of meat over the fire do, given the knowledge you've now got, look disturbingly like they might once have been part of a human body.
A crew. No sign of Gregory then, like no sign of someone in the village that doesn't belong there, like
not unless he's
dead.
You know.
Yeah.
Dead.
Okay.
Okay, we can go now.
I don't think.
Yeah, that leg could be a sign of Gregory.
Where's Pierre gone?
Pierre's like turned and just like fucked up.
I go. He left already. It's fine.
Yeah, 3 of the red shirts came with me.
As you're climbing down the tree, Roland, can you please make me a pirate roll, just to see how stealthily you've accomplished this whole like scaling the tree using wind calling?
Way to go! I've seen.
Normally, I wouldn't ask, but you did.
out.
Normally, I wouldn't ask, but you did use wind calling, and it's not exactly a stealthy art, sort of summoning the wind and start lifting up a tree. Okay, let me make a roll. See whether you can spot.
I'm trying to roll nothing but minuses. You'll be fine.
Okay, at the minute I'm beating you by 2, Matthew.
I am gonna use my high concept and invoke an aspect. Well, use my high concept to use a fair point. I mean, to sneak back down.
Okay, not a problem. As you're sort of climbing back down, you see one of the natives who sort of stood on the outskirts of the village, look up in your direction to the point where you know he'd have like exactly seen you.
Go.
But you just sort of like summon the briefest hint of like the wind to at the exact moment he looks at you, like blow a heavy like group of foliage and leaves like in the way to obscure you. You hold your breath for a few moments and stay still, and then once you're satisfied that he's not seen you, you climb down.
Okay. Now, when I use my wind calling, John, do I feel any resistance to it or anything unusual about it on this island?
Nope.
Or is it completely natural? Okay.
Seems fine.
Cool.
In fact, if anything, you seem to find it a bit easier to use your wind calling.
Wee.
Closer to the source.
That's obviously why I nearly snap a ratchet to something, because I'm like I'm not used to having so much like power all of a sudden. It takes me a while to calibrate.
Mm-hmm. But you shin back down. You're standing next to Nathaniel. No one seems to have spotted you.
We need to be very, very quiet, Nathaniel.
Oh, what was that? Okay, what was that? Okay.
They're cannibals. Don't get out of here. Let's go. We can bring the church's word to them another day.
That's probably a good point.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, you guys all head back to the boat. Are you continuing around the island?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm always keeping an eye out on the beaches, making sure I see if I can't spot him.
Well, through Pierre and myself, keep a close eye on the supplies because we haven't got long.
Okay, you sail around
Don't
the
see
island.
Gregory, but you do see someone dressed up as Wally.
He's like, where's
There he
Wally?
is.
Found him, guys.
You sail around the island for another couple of days, and again you see signs of what, not smoke this time, but you see signs of what appear to be another village on the coast.
Have we seen any signs of Rotter Jack, by the way?
His ship's sort of still behind your ship.
All right.
He doesn't appear
He's
to
not
have
gonna
made
land
any
unless
move.
he's sure it's safe.
Yeah, he doesn't appear to have made any move to land. He's like, oh, why would I land and put myself in danger when you're already doing that shit?
This is going to be a problem, I say, at some point in the journey. If we leave without helping him, he's going to turn on us. If we help him...
It's almost like we never should have made a deal with him in the first place.
I agree. But here we are.
I roll my eyes. I'm sure it'll be fine.
So we have to have a plan for where, if and when we go.
Well, let's find Gregory first. The plan will come up from there.
I'm going to just for the captain's ears. The plan I have is that when you say the word, I will happily run Jack through.
That does reassure me a lot. Thank you, Pierre.
That's my plan.
Okay, so you guys are now in your boat are just off the coast of where you can see the signs of this sort of like coastal village. Again, it's fairly similar huts, although a lot of the huts here, because it's closer to the coast, have like seashells. And stuff
Is
like that,
Pierre's newlywed still with us?
Yeah, Davala is still with you.
Okay.
I love her name.
Do you share your quarters with her?
We
Pierre,
are
or
not
do you
wed.
put it-
We are not wed. I treat her like a casual guest. No more, no less.
Pierre's perfectly polite to her. He doesn't treat her badly. However, there's no, like, as far as I'm aware, there's no further intimacy goes on between them. He's just...
It was lust, not love.
That's it, exactly. He treats her like he says, like a guest on the ship.
Misa was never looking for a full-time relationship.
Yeah, what happens in Della Fortuna stays in Della Fortuna.
That's it. I could have married a fucking princess if I'd stayed home. I didn't want that.
However, you do notice that on a couple of the sort of days as you've been travelling, when you get up in the morning, Pierre, and you sort of step out of your quarters, not every day, but just on a couple of the days, you get out to find that there's sort of like effectively like breakfast has been like left outside your door.
Well, I'm probably also on the sly, having people like check on her surreptitiously, make sure she's getting along okay and stuff like that. I'm not a mean dude. I'm just
no, of course not. You
He's a gentleman.
Well, that's it, exactly.
Oh, a man whore, but I mean, I'm not an asshole.
Words everyone should live by. You get your old friend.
I'm honest about
Rob
it.
Davis, 2016.
I'm upfront about it.
You get your old friend. You get your old friend Krusty from the galley to like check on her, and he sort of reports back to you at sort of like irregular intervals. Says she seems to be fine. She's keeping herself to herself. He does say that it's been her who's been like leaving the breakfast outside your quarters. On a few mornings, she's come down to him in the galley and said, "Would she be all right to take like your morning food to you?" And he's like, "Well, to be honest, I'm overworked. If she wants to take your fucking food, what do I care? Yeah, there you go. Knock yourself out."
Yeah, and in return, I'm just gonna make sure that she's getting enough food and everything else. Like, I don't want her to want.
Yep, no problem. You take pretty good care of her, and whenever you sort of see her and you make these arrangements, and she knows that it's you doing it, she smiles at you. Other than that, the contact you have between, because she barely speaks a word of like the trade tongue. There's fairly little actual contact between the two of you. Like you say, you should just sort of pass each other on occasion on board the ship.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, do we have other females aboard?
Yep. So some of the crew will be female.
Male is a ship. Okay. Hopefully she'll make a friend.
You notice that like a few of the sort of women on board have sort of mainly out of sympathy, because they're sort of like, oh, she doesn't really speak the language. She's in a strange place. She doesn't really know anyone. They're trying to keep her spirits up a bit, you know. And you see that she's gradually sort of picking up a few words in the trade tongue just by listening to everyone like talking around her. But it's very sort of like basic, like 1-2 word stuff.
These are just female crewmen. They're an I slept with Pierre support group.
It's a growing membership.
That's pretty much it. You do notice, like, as they, well, I'll say probably not be yourself that will notice, but certainly Roland, you notice that one morning after Duvala's like put the food outside Pierre's quarters, and she's like walking back, you see again she looks like she's sort of torn between like tears. She doesn't really know what to do with herself, and you do see like a couple of the female crew sort of spot her like walking away from Pierre's quarters, and they just look at each other and they're like, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That one, he cannot be tamed.
You do a few of them. You do one of them as they're sort of like walking past your quarters, Roland. You hear one of them go, well, I always said that Pierre would get himself in trouble one of these days, going around flying at full mast all the time, but, well, you won't be told, will he? And then the other woman like laughs, and they just sort of carry on generally chatting and go about their duties.
He's the 3rd-time champion of the Love or Fencing Championship, after all.
Okay, so as I say, you're offshore. You've seen this coastal village. What do you do?
All right, let's go. Well, same plan as always. Go in, take a look.
You could ask. Well, I asked Nathaniel, could he find out if Pierre's mistress / non-wife has been to this place? Does she know these people? We could bring her with us and have her.
Easier time
That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. However, maybe we could look at the architecture of this place, and like they might not build their buildings exactly the same. You know what I mean, there might be some sort of distinction between the two styles, and we can make a determination that way.
You do notice there are some differences between the way their buildings have been worked, just because they're using materials they've sort of scavenged from the coast rather than from like further inland on the island. There's a lot of sort of seashells and sort of kelp and stuff like that used.
Right. What I'm saying, does this architecture more represent the first group or the second group?
It's difficult to tell. It doesn't really look like either of them, to be honest, because whatever villages you found, they just seem to be made out of whatever materials are available locally.
No hunks of human meat.
I
guess we better take the stealth approach then.
You don't see any obvious signs of them like roasting a human torso over a fire or anything like that, no.
That'd be bad. All right, well, I mean, I don't really have much else. We can give it a shot and see.
Okay, one thing does strike you, though, is as you start making your way sort of fairly stealthily towards this village, you see that one of these sort of like mud huts has like hundreds of these like sort of iridescent like seashells like pressed into the mud, which sort of catch the sunlight in a rather magnificent way. It seems to be the only hut that's been like decorated like that.
All right.
I'm going to instruct 2 of the red shirts with us to hang back just in case. You know what I mean? Till we scope it out, we know it's safe. That can be our backup.
Mm-hmm. As you sort of you continue moving forward, you can also see there's what appears to be a fairly sort of neatly planted sort of little garden just to the side of this like strangely decorated hut.
It looks pretty peaceful.
Seems,
I know, right?
More welcoming than consuming human flesh.
Let's see what they say, shall we, gentlemen? All right, let's approach.
Okay, as you walk in, you see a few of the natives sort of spot you. Again, they're wearing fairly sort of simple sort of garb. They spot you. A few of them seem to speak a smattering of the trade tongue, and they sort of excitedly sort of like hail you and sort of wave at you as you approach.
I'll come towards them, greet them in their tongue, and then try and get some kind of communication vibe going.
Okay, a sort of elderly-looking gentleman, older than you, Nathaniel. He's like,
Wow.
he's very old. He's sort of led out by a couple of men, and he's introduced as their chief.
Oh, I'll bow to him and like greet him hopefully properly and be like, we're sailors from the land come to see the area. We're mostly looking for basic supplies, food to keep us going, and a man that calls himself Gregory. Has he been around here?
No, that is not a name I know. Perhaps Grigor, our priest, might know.
Oh, is your priest in right now by any chance?
Yes, he has a hut over there, and he gestures at the hut that's covered in all the seashells.
I look at the captain and be like, permission to go see Gregora.
Permission granted.
Thanks.
Go with the speed of the 4 elements.
Oh, I'm gonna give him a
I
few
think I will
elements
also
back
go
my head.
and watch, merely for entertainment value. Eh?
I'm imagining Roland go with the speed of the 4 elements, and Nathaniel's like, all right then.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go up to Pierre and be like, Pierre, if it's all the same to you, I'd like a moment alone with the priest.
I think we'll be able to hear it all outside.
How about I come in with you for perhaps a minute, and when we are certain it is you seek.
All right, I think that's fair. All right,
Okay.
let's go.
As you head up to the hut, they don't really have like wooden doors or anything. They just have sort of like a strip of like strips of cloth hanging over it to keep like insects out, etc. And as you're getting nearer, you can hear a number of voices, probably 4 or 5 voices, 3 of which sound sort of like quite high pitched, like they might be like young children. The other 2 are quite noticeably adults, and they're all talking in the language of the natives, which you can understand a bit of. Nathaniel, they just seem to be discussing general things about the children, as they're referred to.
And these sounds don't sound like panic screams or anything.
No, they just sound like general sort of like family chit chat.
And I'm gonna go on up. I'm gonna get to the door. I'm gonna like almost open it. I'm gonna stop myself and be like, I don't actually know what I'm going to say. Like, what? I look at Pierre. What do you tell your son who's left and decided to start a new life on a crazy island that's probably full of dangerous savages and hidden strange things that the water's never seen? What do
Get on the boat.
Think about the last time you saw him, and tell him what you have been through to get to this point, and perhaps he will see your dedication and the love you.
Well, I shrug and I grab I'm gonna open the door and go inside.
Okay, you brush these strips of fabric outside, and as you're doing so, a small child, probably about 8, sort of quite thin but looking very healthy, sort of bumps into you as he was going to like run out of the door just as you pull it aside. He bumps
Like,
into
careful,
you.
my child. You hurt yourself, and I rub him on his head.
He looks up at you, and in a fairly sort of well-spoken trade tongue, he says, "Oh, sorry." And then he sort of runs around you and like scampers off into the village.
Wow. It's common.
I'll smile. Help watch him depart.
I'm gonna
Seems
go
like
in.
a happy place.
I'll look up and be like, we'll find out about that in a minute. I'm gonna go in.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll follow him.
You walk in and you see there's 2 young female children in here, and there's a sort of a very beautiful looking woman who's obviously sort of quite heavily pregnant. She's sort of like fussing around the children as she's trying to get them ready for the day, etc., and like get them out the door. And she looks up as she sees you, and you see her sort of her brow furrows like curiously, and then in a slightly more broken version of the trade tongue, she says, "Can I help you?"
I go, I apologize. I don't wish to disturb you in your moment. Is the priest here?
You see, she looks around, and then she she shouts in her own tongue, and sort of like from out of the back, which is like separated off with like a sort of cloth screen, you hear a very familiar voice to you, Nathaniel, in the trade tongue, saying, "Yes, yes, my dear. What is it?" And she's basically like, "Oh, come out, husband, come out. There are strangers here." At which point he goes, "Oh, strangers! I'll just come out and see who." And he stops like mid sentence as he like pulls the sheet aside, and you lock eyes with your son after all these years. He stood wearing these like simple white robes in the same manner as the natives in the area, and in his mouth just like falls open. He's like,
I'm like I'm at a tennis game. I'm looking back and forth between Nathaniel's face and Gregory's face.
I have like a big smile on my face. Like I have this look of this content and exhaustion, and I sort of like look over at Pierre and I'll be like, "Pierre, it's him. Could you give us a minute? I won't be long."
I pat him on the back. I'll walk back.
Okay. Before you have a chance to say anything else, like Gregory just like rushes over to you and like gives you a great big hug. So like tears are like streaming out the corner of his eyes. He seems like so choked up he almost can't speak as he's sort of like hugging you to the point where you're like, "Actually, I'm an old man. This is a bit uncomfortable."
At the same time, I'm trying to hug him back the same way, but I'm not strong enough, and I'm also crying. I've also got like tears in my eyes as well because I'm just so happy to see he's all right. And I give him a big on hug, and I sort of like just take that. We spent like a minute holding each other, just crying in each other's arms, and then just taking a moment, just breathing in, and then just taking a moment, just enjoying the fact that he's alive and he's not hurt and nothing's happened to him, and he seems happy and he's just enjoying himself. And I'm gonna slowly just like pull him off me just for a moment. I'd be like, "Gregory," and then I'll punch him in the face.
Oh, we took like a serious punch or just like a.
Well, it's me, so it's not gonna be very hard. I'm like, "Ugh!"
Okay, you see him sort of like he steps back a little bit, sort of like rubbing his cheek.
"Do you know what I have had to do to get here? Do you understand the levels of ocean, an entire inquisition that I've had to destroy to come and find you here? You are in so much trouble. Oh, you have no idea. Let me get my belt. Let me get my belt. Oh, I'm going to. Oh.
He looks at you and he like grins slightly, despite the fact he's still rubbing his cheek, and then he says, I'm guessing you had to sail over a waterfall at the edge of the world, avoid cannibals,
make a deal with a weird undead prince, possibly have the Inquisition on our hands, have the church in array, also maybe have seen a beautiful woman naked, but that is beside the point. What are you doing here? What is going on?"
You notice he like raises his eyebrows when you say possibly seen a beautiful woman naked. He's like, "Really, father?
Look,
at your age,
don't start with me. Oh, you have got to start from the beginning. You tell me everything that's going on. You don't hold anything back. And after you're done, we're going to go out there and meet the goddamn captain. And you're going to make it totally worth the reason why I made him sail across a dozen seas, 1,000,000 battles, and over a waterfall to come see your ass."
He says, "Well, our ship was, we found the ship marooned on some sandbanks whilst we were sailing towards the world's edge ocean. I and most of the crew chose to continue on. When we arrived here, we lost some people to the headhunters on the island, but I tried persuading the captain that no amount of gold or even the lost city itself was worth the men that we'd lost, but he wouldn't listen to me. So when he decided that he was going to press onto the center of the island regardless, I decided that I wasn't going to go with them. After all, there were these good people on the island who had never heard the word of the elemental lords. And I thought I can do, I remembered what you taught me, and I thought that I could do far more good helping them than I could on some foolish quest for a lost city that may not even be there anymore. And eventually, it's an old story. I settled down. I got used to the people. They got used to me. I travelled around a bit to amongst the friendlier villages, and I met this fine woman, Kerala, and he gestures at the pregnant woman.
Nice to meet you, man.
She smiles at you and nods. We settled down and decided to start a family.
Why are you here? Why are you on De La Fortuna?
Well, originally, like most of the crew, I'd heard the tales of this fantastic city of gold, the knowledge that was here. I mean, there's an ancient civilization once existed on this island. How could anyone who had even a vague interest in scholarship turn down an opportunity to set foot on a place unspoiled by time, where bits of this civilization still existed? But when I saw the effect that the lust for gold had on our captain, I didn't want any part of it.
Oh, God, you're so smart. Why? Oh. All right. We'll talk later. Please come meet my captain and the crew.
If that's what you wish. And he turns to his wife, and again, it's still in the trade tongue, says, "My dear, if you stay here with the children, I'll just be a few moments with my father." She nods at him, and he accompanies you out of the hut.
So I'm gonna bring him out the hut, but like I'm gonna put my hand on him to help me walk because I feel physically exhausted. I mean, like the end of my journey is finally nigh. Well, it's the first of my journeys anyway. I'm gonna bring him over to the crew where Pierre and everyone are standing. I'm gonna take a deep breath and be like, Roland, Pierre, please meet what's called Gregory de Volia, my long, prodigal, wayward son.
I am delighted to meet you after hearing so much about you.
He holds out a hand towards both of you, shakes both your hands, and as you say that, Pierre, he sort of smiles and looks back at his father, sort of going, "Yeah, I hope at least some of it was good that you've heard about me."
Nathaniel talks about little else.
Roland will shake his hand and clap
You
him on
are
the
a bit
wrist.
strict.
It's good. It's good to finally meet you.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, originally I stayed on this island because I had no way of leaving it, but now I've settled down here. I've made a life for myself here. I mean, what else could I do? What other choice did I have? I could either let it beat me and collapse and sort of give myself over to despair, or I could work towards making a home for myself here. And I remembered what my father taught me, that the elemental lords work in mysterious ways. So I decided if I'm here, this must be their plan for me. So I decided to make the best of the situation and try and help these people.
Oh yeah, now you listen to me. You don't listen to me when I tell you not to goddamn leave and go on a crazy adventure on the high seas. But now he listens. Now he listens. Not beforehand. That's just as great.
You have given your father quite the worry the last few months.
And I'm sorry for that.
With Nathaniel and Roland. Nathaniel, is it your intention to try to convince or otherwise force your son to leave when he does not wish to?
Blood is thicker than water, yeah.
I give like Roland that dirty look, like, don't you dare.
I am not questioning. I am merely asking what his decisions and plan is.
I look at the captain. Captain, may I request that I stay here a few days? I'd like to see if my son has learned any lessons from having gone off on his own to start a new life. Until then, I'm not making any decisions whether I'm dragging him back home with me or not.
Just keep in mind, messieurs, that every day we delay is another day of potential danger. Not to mention we have Wrought-Eyed Jack about.
I'll deal with the Wrought-Eyed Jack.
Pierre is quite right.
I believe.
Cannot tally here long.
You notice Gregory.
How about one day?
Gregory looks horrified when you mention Wrought-Eyed Jack. He's like, Wrought-Eyed Jack here?
Yes.
Yes,
here.
your father made
What the hell's that? What how's that
unauthorized deal.
dastardly pirate doing? And then he sort of stops as you're like, your father made an unauthorized deal with him. And he sort of like, he turns around and looks at you and he's like, really?
I go, excuse me, you were lost. I had no idea where you were going.
I said to him.
Do not take the side of this man. You take anyone else's side but this man.
Not to mention the Driftwood twins.
I'll agree
I'm
with
just
him.
saying, Father, that it seems a little hypocritical of you to be complaining about the misadventures that I have admittedly got myself into while you have been out making deals with a person who is known as the Devil of the Seven Seas.
Not to mention
Now, look here.
fooling a oracle of one of the four elements.
Okay, that was not...
At which point, Gregory's like, say what?
It's been a long road.
That was not my fault either. None of this was my fault. Okay, maybe a little bit of my fault. Look, what's important is that you're safe.
What does the church teach about accepting your responsibility for your actions?
Wow, Roland, just wow. If everyone is done having a go at me and my incredible, terrible life decisions, I would like to be with my son now. Shoo, go away. Go do ship things. Go find supplies. And I sort of like try and like eagerly shoo them away from us.
At which point, Gregory sort of like shakes Pierre and Roland by the hand again, and he's like, "It was nice to meet you. I'm sorry for my father. He does get a bit worked up."
I'm going to sort of lean into Pierre actually, while this, as Nathaniel's gone full on daddy mode. I sound a bit weak coming out of my mouth. I'm looking at the two of them, seeing them happy for the first time, and since I've known Nathaniel, and just a flicker of that memory of that weird dream thing I had. Perhaps it was the room, perhaps it was just where we were, and I look at him. Pierre, none of the stories about this place end well, do they?
It would seem to me, if we were to leave right now, we have a win, huh? We have found the person we seek. We have the gold, enough to make the entire crew happy, and we should go back home. However, Nathaniel is not yet ready, so I am torn. I respect him and wish to give him the time he needs. However, he has a tendency to downplay the dangers, and every day we delay here is increased danger
Jack
for
won't
us.
wait forever.
I suggest perhaps we take a day to gather these supplies, and if he cannot convince his son in 24 hours, what difference would another 24 make, eh?
Mm-hmm. Is it possible to disguise the fact we're thinking of leaving, John?
In what way?
In like as we're putting our supplies in the ship and sort of thing, not to give Jack any indication we're thinking of going.
You could possibly do that. You would have to make a roll.
Mm-hmm.
Well, restocking, I mean,
yeah,
he's assuming we're going to leave sooner or later. That's a reasonable assumption. So there's nothing unusual about him seeing us restock.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point, Rob.
He doesn't need to, but we do.
Yeah. We do need food and supplies. So yeah, we'll spend a day getting food and supplies, what we need to do to go.
Yeah.
Well, during that day, I want you to have your heart-to-heart with your son and come to a consensus.
Well, that's what I'm doing, but I also would like to have a moment with Roland.
Uh-oh. This is not going to be a 7 days type situation, is it?
Maybe.
Okay. Spit it out, Nathaniel. What is it?
So I catch Roland hopefully on his own, and I come in and I'm like, Roland, I have a problem that I need your help with.
What could possibly be wrong? You found your son. What could possibly be wrong now?
The problem is not just my son. The problem is no matter what I do, I can't take him back home because home is where the Inquisition is waiting. And if I don't make it safe for my son, whether I take him back home or not is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to like what I'm about to say.
Are you going to stay?
No, worse. My deal with Rotai Jack works only if I help Rotai Jack get to the Philosopher's Stone. And then we go back together to conquer the lands. I'm going to stay and go on with Water Jack into the center of the island while you guys leave.
So Roland sort of like he's sort of like, I'm guessing we're still in the village at this point.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm sort of leaning against one of the huts. I can't let you do that, Nathaniel.
Well, I don't think you have much of a choice. Trying to leave without telling Rotai Jack is going to cause a problem. Me trying to convince my son to leave is going to cause a problem. This way, Rotai Jack gets what he wants. I get a pirate army to start with and the money to fund them with, and you get to get away with the money you wanted. Everyone ends up happy. You all are making ideas about how my deals are making things bad, but my deal still stands. I still have an Inquisition to fight. And this way, I have my army to start with.
I don't think you understand the consequences of what you're doing, Nathaniel, with Rotai Jack. If you truly help him.
Maybe if I do help him, the consequences will be bad. But my son is safe. It's all I care about. Now, my main problem is stopping the Inquisition. They're going to start a war again with law forts. Don't you care about that?
Yes. No. Maybe. I care less for the church, more for the people they're going to affect, really.
Then I have to do everything in my power to stop it. I will not have another war happen. I know the Inquisition are not your best friends, but there's some people in there who really truly mean well, and some who have just been brainwashed. If I can find something on this island that can help me fight them, I'm not going to miss a chance to do it. And going with Rotai Jack will find him his Philosopher's Stone, so he can help himself.
So, like, I see Nathaniel like looking, a steely, determined gaze of him, and it's reflected in that vision, like that look of just control and calm determination. It should have shivered down my spine.
And I'm like, don't worry, everything will turn out all right. As long as my son is safe, nothing else matters. I will bring peace to the lands.
I can't stop you from going, but I can come with you.
No, well, how do you intend to get over the waterfall? And do you really think we're going to be able to create Province Pierre not to stay? Come on.
You'd give us a couple of days if need be. I can't let you wander off with this man. Consequences, I don't think you understand.
It will be fine. I'm sure I can manage a Pirate King. I've managed it so far, and I'm true to my word. He needs me, and I need him.
There's nothing stopping him from turning on you once he's cured.
Maybe, but it depends on how he's cured. And I did promise him an army. I'm going to give it to him.
I can't let you do this, Nathaniel. I must come with you. If this is your decision.
Roland, the longer you stay, the more Brother Jack is going to get impatient. If you stay, you're causing more of a problem. I'll be fine. Let me go. I'll go into the island tomorrow. Make sure my son does not follow me, and everything should be fine.
Nathaniel, you don't know how to fight. You've never been in an honest fight in your life, or a dishonest one.
No, I haven't. But I have survived.
You cannot win against this man with
battles.
pure words.
I've managed it so far.
Pierre will tell you this is madness.
Pierre will tell me this is madness.
The longer we stay here, the more chances of all of us dying.
So go. I'll be fine. I'll manage.
But I'm not going to leave you with that man.
All right. What do you suggest?
Let me come with you. Let me take the cup. Do not let him take it. Perhaps this is a way to put him down here. Perhaps things don't work here the same, and we can actually put an end to him.
All right, fine. But let's go tomorrow. We'll make a trek into the island. We have to we'll probably find a large creature to sacrifice to the gods.
Remember, Nathaniel, what you're planning to do, you're planning to wage war on your own church.
I'm not planning to wage war. I'm planning to use subterfuge and possibly some guerrilla tactics, of which I have no knowledge of. But I'll learn. If I don't do it, the entire world will enter another Armada war. I don't have a choice. If I sit by idly, we'll have another war in our hands. Either I start a war or I end it.
If I don't come with you, perhaps the same thing will happen.
I sort of, for the first time, I actually stop and scroll my eyes like, what does he mean by that? But then, of course, I rush off because I'm like, I don't know what he's trying to say. But I just sort of just shrug and go, fine, come with me. But it's going to be dangerous.
What more dangerous than we've already seen?
Maybe a good point. There is one slight problem.
Which is?
How are we going to convince Pierre this is a good idea?
I won't convince him it's a good idea. But he will listen to reason.
All right.
Possibly.
Fine. Fine. If you want to come, I can't stop you. But it's going to be me, Rod-Eye Jack, some of his men, and we're going to go into the island and things are going to get hairy.
You're still part of my crew, Nathaniel. I'm not going to let you walk into this blind.
Forgive me, but every moment you say that, it makes me feel a little bit less worried. Even if I should be.
Me too.
Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow morning. We'll speak to Rod-Eye Jack then.
I'm waiting for my meeting, Pierre. You said what?
You said what?
You said...
Okay, at this point, I'd actually like to offer you a compel, Bishop Devola, for your blood is thicker than water, since I'm guessing that your son, over your long period of time, has learned to sort of like read when you're troubled, etc. By your expressions. So I'm offering you a compel to say that he's like, he doesn't know exactly what you're planning, but he's going to realise you're planning something like what he would term quite stupid, from like how you're carrying yourself and the fact you look really worried.
I'll take it.
Okay. So have yourself a fate point. As you go back to Gregory, he sort of looks up at you and he goes, I know that look, Father.
Oh, crap.
That's the look you get just before you plan to do something monumentally stupid and dangerous.
I sort of stop and go, how often have I done something monumentally stupid and dangerous? Don't answer that.
Yeah, he's sort of like, he's got his mouth open and he's like, and then you're like, don't answer that.
I look at him and I go, how is your wife and your children?
My daughters and my son are finer. We have another on the way. Carola herself is a wonderful woman. She's a wonderful wife, a wonderful mother to our children. I couldn't be happier.
I'm glad you're settling down well. I'm glad you're having a good time. I'm sort of, despite having to be really angry at you, I'm glad everything's going well. Tomorrow we're going to make a few deals, a few conversations, a few things here and there. Things might turn a little bit odd, but you don't worry yourself. You go in, you have a good night's sleep, and I'll see you tomorrow afternoon when I come back on the ship.
Father, how can you possibly expect me not to worry? We've finally been reunited after all this time, and then you're telling me you're going to be making some deals, you're going to be doing some stuff, and things might get a bit strange. How can you expect me not to worry? Your family, of course, I'm worried.
Yes.
In the same way you were worried enough about me to move these mountains and traverse all these dangers to get here, how can you now expect me not to be worried about you?
Because, Nathaniel, I am old, and I have been your father far too long, and now you're a father of yourself with your own children waiting for you, and a very, may I say, very beautiful wife. From now on, all you should worry about is them. Don't worry about these old bones anymore, okay? I'm serious.
He looks over at his wife, and a sort of wistful look comes over at his face, and he says, yes, there's only 3 women I've ever loved in my life, and I love her more than any of the others.
Wait, who are the other 2?
Well, mother, obviously.
Well, yes.
And he says, well, when I was first sailing about, I met this. This.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Don't. Whoever it is, I'm sure they're lovely.
he says, yes, we don't need to talk about Carlotta anyway. That's all past.
You ask, and then you say you don't want to hear it. It's funny. Tell me everything. No, wait, don't tell me.
Ah! 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 Oh! 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 Ah!
The apple doesn't fall far from the peach tree.
Have a good night, and from now on, worry more about your son than your father. Do you understand me?
Very well. Just promise me one thing, Father. Just promise me
Yes.
you'll be careful.
I will be the epitome of careful.
Okay, then. Good night, Father. And he
Good
turns around and
night.
heads into his hut.
Oh, Carlotta, why are you in my life? And I'll also go to bed and await the morning.
Okay, not a problem. Roland and Pierre, are you doing anything during the rest of the evening?
Well, I'm looking into supplies, and I'm estimating how long it will take to harvest enough natural supplies off this island that I think we would have enough to get back safely.
If you got like most of the crew involved, it'd probably only take you a few days. The island seems quite abundant in sort of natural supplies. The only problem is a lot of the stuff you get from here would be perishable, but you could salt the meat, etc. So, yeah, so if you really wanted to be safe, it'd probably be about 4 days.
Eat that first too, yeah.
Yeah, so about 4 days if you got like most of the crew involved.
Okay, so I'm going to lay out a plan, a work schedule, work detail, if you will, for doing just that.
Yeah, Krusty gives you a hand sort of coming up with a plan because he works in the galley, so he's sort of like telling you like what you really need and what you should prioritize, etc. And between the two of you, you sort of like work out a schedule for rotating the crew on shifts to go out and collect stuff, but leaving enough men on the boat.
Yeah. Maybe even a few trees, if we need a couple more boards or timber or whatever.
Yep, not a problem. You start sorting that out. Okay.
Right.
Roland, do you want to do anything else during the evening? Are you there, Roland?
Roland! He's dead. Roland's dead. Goodbye, Roland. We loved you.
It's in the coma.
I'll ask poor Roland. I know his dishwasher was loud. Okay. So it would seem that Roland has retired early for the evening. So the next morning, the sun rises over the horizon. It's another beautiful, warm, sunny day on the lost island of Fortuna. Your plan seems to have gone off pretty much without a hitch. The supplies have started to be gathered in. Yeah, Krusty's checking over with them and sort of double checking them with you as they start gathering and the first sort of shifts start going out to like gather stuff in.
Yeah, there's like pointing. You guys, you harvest over there. You guys get a couple straight trees there. We can make boards out of. There's that kind of thing. I saw a good fishing spot there. That kind of thing.
Gregory sort of acts as like an intermediary with some of the tribes people here and gets them to sort of help you because obviously they know where the better food is, etc. So with their help, you're able to sort of get it done fairly quickly. And in fact, you probably think with their help you can shave like a day off. It's only take you about 3 days.
Okay, with this tribes people, I want to give them a couple minor trinkets. You know what I mean, like as gratitude. Maybe I have like an old pair of glasses, and they could have like a lens on a piece, and they could use as a magnifying glass, right? Starting a little fire or something like that. Little things like that.
They seem incredibly sort of touched and taken by these gifts that you offer them, and they're all really grateful and so quite happily accept them off you.
Yeah, even like a waterproof pouch kind of thing would be.
Yeah, in return, you're given a number of the sort of like the gold ornamentations and like the beadwork, etc., that they wear, as they seem to insist on like giving you gifts to like match that as well. And
right. Well, I'll take the gifts mostly in the form of the additional help they've been giving us gathering harvest, right? Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
My plan is to get like get a longbow and go over to what's it called ship, but I can't do it without getting Matthew's permission just yet. So I gotta wait on that. See if he's coming back.
So
So
I
in the
guess
meantime,
once.
I'll go see
Oh, you go
Pierre.
ahead.
So I go no
Yeah,
after you
that's what I
go
was
on.
gonna say. I was just gonna say the same thing. Once I've got everybody going doing their thing, then I'm gonna have a chat with you.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna come out to Pierre and be like, Pierre,
How did your talk with your son go, huh?
um, well, he's a stubborn mule, but he's enjoying himself, so I can't really push it.
Captain, the villagers have been most helpful. I estimate 3 days at the most, and we will have all the supplies we need to make it back home safely.
That is great news, Pierre. Great news.
Well, I look at Roland. Roland, shall you tell him or shall I?
It's your plan, Nathaniel. You're insisting on going ahead with it.
I look at Pierre and go, Pierre, I'm going to take the pirates deep inside the middle of the island to go and try and find the Philosopher's Stone.
Pourquoi?
Because I promised him that, and I still need an army for the Inquisition.
This sounds like it would take much longer than the 3 days, eh?
Yes, and the plan was that you people, while I'm gone, would be free to leave.
I understand, mon ami. I admire your conviction to this cause.
Don't
There
admire
is
it just
indeed,
yet.
there is a part of me which would like to help you with this plan, but I cannot do that, for I am responsible for much of this crew. It would be indeed selfish of us. We came here with two purposes, eh? And we have accomplished both of them. We have enough money that these men can all live in comfort for the rest of their lives. It is selfish for us to deny that to them.
Yeah,
I'm
about that.
afraid at the end of 3 days, I will wish you luck and shake your hand and depart.
Well, normally I'd be fine with this, I say as I look over at Roland,
About that, yeah.
but
I intend to help him, Pierre. If he is bent on this madness, I'm not going to abandon him to riot, Jack.
If that
I
is
just
your
want to point out,
wish,
I just want to point out this is not my idea.
if that is your wish, Captain, then I will respect it. However, it would be the same selfishness of you to demand that the crew stay behind on this mission when it is clearly not a war they signed up for. Eh? They
Indeed.
have done all we have asked of them and more. They deserve a reward.
One more thing. Does anyone know how to leave?
Same way we got here.
Up a waterfall.
At which
We
point,
have Daedalus.
Daedalus, who's been sort of like stood in the background, steps forward and he says, well, yes, if we... The way I got out last time is if we sail in the opposite direction to the way my compass is indicating, we'll be able to sail back to the World's Edge Ocean, and from there back into the normal seas, and from there wherever we wish to go. That was how I got off here last time.
I nod. I wish you the best of luck, mon comrades, mes amis, but I fear within 3 days we will depart. I am happy to help you as much as I can during that time.
I basically look at Roland and go, well, that's it, Roland.
You're
Are
a
you
fine
sure you wanna
officer,
stay?
Pierre. You can get these men back if I do not return. But I intend to
Oui,
bring
oui.
everyone back. If I can.
In any case, that is 3 days from now.
Mhm.
What is next? I have the supplies underway.
We go to Jack. We get him to bring what's called. We get him to take some of his crewmen, and we trek inside, and then we try and be as fast as we can.
I am loath to help this scum murderer.
I'll be honest, PM, my thought is if we can cure him, then he becomes just a mortal man. And then a mortal man can be struck down.
All right.
Your point is well taken.
Well, then let's do it. I say, and I go. I'll need a rope. Let's go speak to the big pirate king.
Before we do this, I block the thing in his path.
Yes.
You, monsieur, have a tendency to make the deals with the devils without consulting the rest of us. I suggest in future, if you make such deals, make sure they include only you. For when this man is returned to mortal, I intend to kill him.
I'll keep that in mind.
Very well.
Oh, and Pierre, I hope the next time I meet you, it's not during a war.
Fear not, monsieur. If I hear there is a war coming, I will into the other side of the world. I have had my fill.
I'll keep that in mind.
Okay, so are you guys heading over to the Venom?
Yep. Let's go see Rod Jack.
Unfortunately, yes.
Are you all going, or?
Well, I'm going to go. I'm going to see Tabisa beforehand and see if there's any kind of enchantment or anything he can put on my rapier that might make it more effective against Rod Jack. Should it happen?
Okay, he says that he could certainly put a blessing on your rapier. It would take him half an hour to do it, though. If you can wait half an hour, he'll do it for you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we stop and have lunch first, whatever.
Okay.
Plus, we got to prepare a longboat and all that. Anyways.
Okay, you have the boost of spiritually sharp on your rapier with a free invoke.
All right.
It takes about half an hour, but he asks you to leave him in privacy with your rapier. Does this ceremony over and that brings it to you? And when he brings it to you, you can see there's a strange patterning on the blade, almost as though frost had sort of frozen along the blade. And when he hands it to you, it does feel slightly cold, not painfully cold, but just like a slight chill as you take it. And as you sort of move it through the air, there's like a sort of swishing sound. The edge of it looks even sharper than it does normally. You keep it in tip-top condition, but it looks razor sharp to the point where you can almost do like one of those film bits where you drop a single hair on it and it splits in two.
I examine it closely when he's done, and I smile almost evilly, knowing that if there's anything I have left to do before I leave this place, it's kill this son of a bitch.
Okay, so about 3/4 of an hour later, you all find yourself heading over to the Venom, this rotted, fetid hulk of a ruined excuse for a pirate ship. As you get on board, you can see the various sort of rotting and festering crew members shambling around, and standing up near the wheel, you see the form of Rot-eyed Jack. As he sees you all sort of coming aboard, he looks across and says, "Gentlemen, this is a pleasant surprise. I was beginning to think that you had forgotten about me and our arrangement."
The honor is all yours.
It's hard to forget you when you're following us like a rather obedient bulldog in some ways.
What a rotting rat.
It almost works.
It wouldn't be smart of me to let you go too far, considering our arrangement, Bishop de Vola.
Well, fortunately, I'm here to pay up. We reckon whatever we're looking for is going to be further inside the island on an ancient ruin made of gold. Somewhere within there, the Philosopher's Stone awaits.
Excellent.
So,
You intend to claim this stone for yourself? I'm asking Jack.
Of course.
You know, of course, that it is cursed.
Take a good look at me. What do I have to fear from curses?
man's got a point.
However, a stone that can change the fundamental nature of objects and people. Think of the power and the value such an item possesses.
Yes, it is an extremely powerful item to place in someone's hands. I can look at Nathaniel.
And I'll look over back at him and be like, hey, if I get it, you don't like the deal. I got it the first time.
I'm just saying, you want to give this guy the cosmic cube.
Think of how valuable such an item would be. For instance, hypothetically speaking, if one were to be waging a war on a large religious body in the near future.
Sounds fair to me.
If you do not mind, Bishop Devola, I have a proposition for you, but I would rather speak to you about it in private. You have my word that no harm will befall you or your companions whilst you're on board my ship, if that should concern you. After all, if I kill any of you here, I gain nothing, and I've not travelled this far to leave empty-handed.
I fold my arms and I go, anything you wish to say, you can say in front of my fellow crewmen. I'll just tell them anyway.
Very well, if that is your wish. It is my impression, given our arrangement, that you wish my help in restoring the balance of your church in return for granting me a position of power amongst it.
Yes.
Would that be correct?
That would be correct.
If we retrieve the Philosopher's Stone, but we do not use it until after we have overthrown this Inquisition of yours, I believe it will go a good deal easier for us. After all, as I'm sure, he sort of looks at Pierre and he says this, as I'm sure you've all worked out by now, if my curse is removed, then I am a mortal man who can be easily killed.
Except that the whole point was to gather this stone and use its power to win the war. And now you're suggesting not using the stone until you have won the war.
Indeed.
Oh, sure, you twist your words. He changes the plan as he speaks.
I simply suggest that what is the point of curing myself and my crew so that many lives can be lost while we fight this war on your
Then why
behalf,
does this
Bishop?
Philosopher's Stone need to be sought before the war is won?
Let the man finish.
What I'm suggesting is we take the Philosopher's Stone, we remain in our cursed state until the war is won, we then cure ourselves with the Philosopher's Stone.
No deal. I cannot start a war with a man that is cursed and say I'm doing one for goodness. We use the stone and we use it in the crew to ensure that you're fine. You're right, it may be risky, but I need to show the stone works. And by curing you of all people, it will prove that it's fine.
Your capacity for self-delusion never ceases to amaze me, Bishop Devola. I am happy to help you win this war against your Inquisition in return for the promise of position and power that you have offered me. But do not attempt to delude yourself that you are doing it for some greater good. I am many things, and I will lie to any man, but I at least do not lie to myself.
Well, either way, I'm not going with the deal. And that's it.
I nod and position myself to give him support.
Now, would you like to come along, or would you like to stay here and make more amazing threats to my good nature? It won't. You can't kill yourself, you know.
You can't threaten something which barely exists, Bishop de Vola. But if you are willing to accept the help of a cursed man to retrieve this stone, then I will help, of course. Did I not
Well,
agree
then.
that I would?
Well then, take it less as a threat and more as an arrangement. Then we're both fair.
As you wish.
That went well. I look at Roland. We'll be fine. 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 We'll be fine.
Okay, at this point, Pierre, because you're keeping like a fair... I think it's fairly safe to say that you don't trust Rot-Eye Jack as far as you could like throw his ship. And that's a fairly accurate statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an accurate statement to say that at the first chance I get that I think I can kill him, I will try to.
Okay, can you make me an officer roll, please, to see if you notice something?
Sure. Clear. Is there a clear history? Where's the clear history?
Okay, no problems. You notice at the point when, in the conversation where it's discussing the fact that when he says, "Oh, once I've got the Philosopher's Stone, I'll just be a normal man and I'll be easy to kill," you notice that, like, since you've been like observing him fairly closely because you're getting ready to shank him, yeah, you notice that oddly he doesn't seem entirely worried about that. There's actually a slight smile on his face as he's saying that.
I understand. He wants to end the curse. I and Pierre would be more than happy to help him. This is still not that much unlike that poor woman on the island. You know, her curse being ended.
You're getting the feeling that when he mentions the sort of curse will be ended and he'll be a mortal man, there's something that he's like keeping back. He's not sort of telling the entire truth.
Well, as you say, I trust him about as far as I can throw his ship. So I'll just repeat that. First chance I get where I think I have a good shot of killing him, he dies. I'll ask permission later.
Okay, so what are you guys planning on doing now?
We're gonna go trek into the center of the island. Let's do it.
Okay, no problems.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll stop at our ship for just island trekking supplies. You know,
So your usual pick up a big bag, machete in front of us.
Water bags, machete, yeah, that kind of thing.
Bring my best sword,
Like
my sharpest guns.
Like, you know, one of those like captain hat, those like explorer hats. I got one of those on.
That's right, yeah, the big sort of.
Okay, not a problem. You start making your way towards the interior of the island. You've got Rot-Eye Jack and sort of like a dozen or so of his crew with you, as well as your crew as well, some of them. And you start trekking into the interior of the island. It's quite heavy going. You're having to like hack your way through thick jungle. It's exhausting. It's dehydrating. You're having to drink a lot of water. Luckily, there seems to be like quite a lot of like frequent sort of like little small streams that you come across that you're able to sort of regather water, and obviously you've got your supplies. And obviously Rot-Eye Jack and his crew don't need any supplies. In fact, they're sort of pulling more than their own share of the weight as you're hacking your way through this jungle, because they're just like machines. Your men are like, oh, God, we're knackered, we're like exhausted, we need to like sit down for a bit of a drink of water. And Rot-Eye Jack's men are just like merrily like carry on hacking through the trees, like it's not bothering them. The heat doesn't bother them. They're not slowing down. They're just like, all right, we're going to find the lost city, hack away. So
Frustrated insects landing on them.
Indeed. Okay, so after at the end of the first day, do you make camp or do you keep pressing on? Obviously, like tiredness and exhaustion will sort of take its toll if you choose to keep pressing on.
Sounds like we have to rest. So I think we're going to rest, but I'm going to have rotating guard shift. I want someone awake at all times, watching both the forest and Rot-Eye and his men.
Okay, not a problem. So I'm going to ask you which of you is sort of setting the camp effectively. and I will tell you that this will be a shipwright roll.
Well, I'm going
you-
to order. I will order it be said, or the captain can, but I'm not actually going to be doing it.
Okay, so one of you make a roll.
I believe in you, Matthew. Make that
Okay.
shipwright roll. I'm sure you put all those points in it.
Shipwright. Oh, goody.
You know that thing that you put a whole bunch of points in, right? Right. Right.
Not so much.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
My
now
shipwright is 0.
Okay, now Matthew, I'm going to ask you to roll me a +0 roll.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one, right? That's good. That's a good
not
roll.
what-
You're doing great. Don't worry about it.
I'm just. Look, I'm not a logistics man, all right?
Okay, now I'm going to ask each of you if you can please make me a. If you please make me a pirate roll. All
See,
of you.
when Joe wants someone to roll bad, he comes to me.
I know,
He
right?
comes
Oh
to me.
God! Oh God! It's okay. It's okay. I'm on a poor -1. I'm doing great. I don't spot the danger. I thought none of us spot the danger. I thought we're all really bad at piracy. We're the worst at pirates.
Okay, Roland, you're sort of awake in the middle of the night, like an insect stung you or something, and you're like, you slap it off. You're quite. Everyone else seems to be asleep. You slap it off, like, apart from like the guards. You slap it off. You're quite irritated. But as you're sort of like going back to sleep, you can hear sort of like gruff but like muffled voices, like talking behind like the area, just sort of like beyond the trees where you're sort of sleeping.
Okay. I'm gonna like sort of move up to a crouch as kind of slowly and quietly as I can. I'm gonna use some of that there when calling to see if I can amplify the sound possibly and hear them better without actually alerting them to my presence.
Okay, make me a, since you're trying to do it sort of stealthily without alerting, make me a pirate roll.
Okay. Kinda.
That's fine. It's not a very difficult roll. Okay, so as you're sort of like peeking through the trees and you're sort of using the wind calling to like carry the sound to your ears, you see a couple of the sort of shambling pirates of Rot-Eyed Jack's crew. They picked up like a hushed discussion beyond the trees. Jack isn't with them, but they're just sort of talking to you. One of them go, "So, what do you reckon? And the curse will soon be broken. We can get back to be immortal men." And the other one's like, "Yeah, but don't you think? Don't get me wrong. I'd love to like eat again, and well, women. Like you tell me about women, but the whole not dying bit, I was kind of liking that, to be honest." At which point the other one goes, "Don't worry about it. Captain's got it all under control." And he's like, the captain's not steered us wrong yet. He'll sort this out. Trust me. The other one's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, don't want to say too much now, but just trust me, I've spoken to him about it. Everything's good. Let's just get to the Lost City. We'll get the stone. Then we'll see what's what. You take it from old Tom. The captain won't let us down.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Captain
Roland is even more
Stand up
convinced
and
that
go.
letting him get the stone is the worst idea.
Yeah, it's literally like the cosmic cube.
Like the worst idea ever. Oh, okay.
Now, watch me also help me get this Infinity Gauntlet.
It's one of the things, it's a problem that I can't solve immediately because he's immortal. What am I going to do? Maybe I can.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, I know there's a TARDIS. We need that. Okay,
Is
so
it possible? Is it possible to, at some point on the journey to talk to Daedalus and ask him quietly about the curse? Because he's touched the stone, right?
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah, you sort of head over to Daedalus. He's still asleep. You sort of like gently nudge him, and he sort of opens his eyes. He's like, "Oh, Captain Howe, is everything all right?"
hey, Daedalus, I'm sorry to bother you right now. And we've all got plenty to be worried about at the moment.
Oh, no, that's fine. What can I do for you?
I overheard some of Jack's crew talking about the stone. This troubled me somewhat. You've touched it yourself. You've used the stone, right?
That's right. The curse that affects me comes from the stone.
But they seem to think that they'll still be immortal if they use it. Do you know anything about what the stone's curse can do? Is it different for everyone?
He gestures you to come closer and he says, "Look, I've studied the ways of native spiritualists. And they believe that only a single blessing or a single curse can be placed on an individual. If you try and place, and I spoke to Thazibur about this, but if you try and put a second curse on someone, the more powerful curse is the one that sticks. The other disappears."
Okay.
It's you already know that my curse means that whenever I would die normally, that death sloughs off me like a snake's skin onto someone else. But if perhaps your rot-eyed Jack is gambling on the fact that the curse of the Philosopher's Stone is more powerful than his current curse, if that's the case, then I've every reason to believe that he would no longer be afflicted by his current curse. He would take on the curse of the Philosopher's Stone, which also means you cannot die.
But it affects him differently.
Well, yes, I'm not like him. I'm not some shambling corpse. I can still eat food. I can still enjoy my life. But whereas I found the prospect of other people dying near me because death chose not to pick me, I found it horrendous and removed myself from society to try and protect everyone around me. Perhaps your Captain Jack has no such scruples.
What would happen if someone who couldn't die tried to kill him?
I don't know for sure, but if they were affected by the curse of the Philosopher's Stone...
If I say I had the stone and I shot Rye Jack, what do you believe would happen?
If you shot Rot-eyed Jack, I don't believe he'd die because his curse would prevent it. However, nor would he be able to kill you, because if he tried to kill you in return, your death would be affected by the Philosopher's Stone's curse and would simply move on to a nearby person who can die.
Okay. Do you reckon the stone could be destroyed?
I don't say it's impossible, but I don't know of anything currently that could do it. I mean, we're talking about an ancient device here that was made by a civilization that existed long before anything we know. It may even be something sent by the elemental lords themselves. Who knows? I could spend a lifetime studying that thing and still not understand the merest fraction of its secrets.
Okay. Thank you, Daedalus. Thank you for giving me some time.
Not at all, Captain. In fact, I'm grateful to yourself and your crew. If there's anything I can do to help, please just let me know.
Think of a way to kill a man who can't die. That would be great.
He looks at you and you see a look of profound sadness on his face, and he says, I've spent a good portion of my life trying to think of a way to kill a man who can't die, Captain.
Sort of, I know it's sort of slowly and sadly, and just yeah. I'm sorry, that was meant to be a joke.
It's fine, Captain. Don't let it worry us. I long ago made the best peace I could with what had happened to me. I'm hoping that it, and he sort of says, I must confess, Captain, I was hoping that if I could somehow touch the Philosopher's Stone again, I could perhaps return the curse that it placed on me to the stone, and I'd just be a normal man. I could die like a normal man, live like a normal man. I wouldn't have to hide myself away on an island in the middle of nowhere.
Maybe you'll get the chance.
I hope so, Captain. I hope so.
Yeah, I'll go back to sleep after a little while. Just keep. I'll make a point of doing like a perimeter check kind of thing, walking around as if I was just getting up to have a look around, like I wasn't spying on Captain Jack's crew.
We have at least one of the other 6 cards awake as well. So.
Okay, the rest of the night passes uneventfully. The sun rises in the morning. You all slowly start waking up. Rot-Eye Jack and his crew have just been stood around. They don't need to sleep, so they've just been stood around the campsite.
That's fine. We'll make our usual preparations, and then continue on our trek.
Okay, you start making your way through the jungle. However, as you sort of step out into what at first you think is a small clearing, as you look around, you eventually realise that there's this huge footprint dented into the soft, muddy floor of the jungle.
How huge and what kind of foot?
Think sort of like if King Kong had put like his foot down here, that sort of size.
And is it like that kind of foot, like with toes and everything?
Yep. A few of your crew are like stood around and they're like, as they look at this giant footprint.
I'm doing the same thing, looking at the captain.
Well, they did warn us about big creatures.
That is true.
That is big. Maybe we should let Jack take point. I mean, he can't die if anything shows up, right?
Good point.
And as you say this, perhaps we should let Rot-Eye Jack take point. After all, he can't die in you, Pierre go. And if he does, from beyond the trees, you hear this.
Please let me someone's stomach.
I think that's my ex.
To end the session this evening, gentlemen, with this animalistic cry echoing through the trees.
Wow, that cry was so loud it broke your microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wrapped it back round to quiet.
But thank you very much for playing, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this evening's session. And I think next time it's probably going to be the final session of the campaign.
Shit.
As you reach the Lost City, we finally find out if Pierre gets to run Rot-Eye Jack through. We'll probably have a bit of a sort of, assuming people survive, we'll probably have a bit of an epilogue discussing what happens afterwards, like the Inquisition and maybe the Second Armada War, and we'll nicely sort of tie up the campaign. So thank you very much for playing, guys. I'm happy to chat for a bit afterwards, but for now, I'm going to thank people for watching, and I'm going to end the broadcast here.